Dr. Njoroge, are you there?
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, Professor Jerono, thank you and hello to everyone. Let's go before the Lord in prayer. Hallelujah. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to commit these meetings into your hands. We ask for your guidance and we pray that, Lord, you give this team and this commission wisdom. As Lord, we deliberate on the ideas regarding the reforms that are needed in order to make the Kenya educational system better, more effective. We pray that, Lord, you help this commission in whole so that the ideas and the reforms that will be introduced will bring very positive changes for future generations of Kenyans as our country continues to develop and prosper. We pray that, Lord, you continue helping everyone here in the diaspora to catch the vision and to participate in action. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daktari. At this point, I would like to welcome Our Excellency, Ambassador Wende Mwinsi, who is the ambassador of Seoul, Korea, right? Did I get it right? So please introduce yourself and open the meeting for us. You know what it is, and represent the Kenyan government for us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Jerono Rotich. And a good evening to all of you. Greetings from sunny Seoul. It's 10 a.m. here. And, our day is going to be a very busy one. We're going through a lot at the mission. It's an honor to be able to join you today. And I join you not as Kenya's ambassador to the Republic of Korea, but I join you more so as a member of the diaspora. I still, somewhat officially live in New York. That is where my children are. That's where my family is. And, I have aspirations like most of us to either move back home at some point, or we all have assets at home, or we have relatives at home. And we see how many, we see the frustrations in the education system, whether it's disgruntled teachers who need more salaries, whether it is parents who have issues with curriculum. We continue to change systems. And I think that the onus on the diaspora, having been exposed and having acquired skills both locally at home or outside, is to really harness our collective experience and to help our country to take stock of what is wrong and be a contributor. The pastor just said, to work together and from within. It is so much easier to fight from within than to stand on the side and complain. So I think this is Presidential Working Party on Educational Reforms is such an excellent forum for us to be at the table, to guide conversation, to really walk the talk in terms of making Kenya the country that we would like to see it become, a home of highly educated people or highly skilled people, because not everybody is cut out like you to be a PhD, Jerono. So we have a lot to offer, whether it's in teachery training, as we seek to become an industrialized country with a manufacture base. We need to find mechanisms of absorbing and mainstreaming our youth into employment, skilled labor that can either just be domestic and help us grow, or be exported. So Korea and other countries each have a role, and you across the diaspora are here because you are meant to be part of the development process of our country. And I'm proud to be a part of you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ambassador Wende Mwinsi. We went to school together in Kenya High, them days, and I'm so proud of her. She's my role model. So thank you. We appreciate. And yes, you are a diaspora. This is the task force. I represent the Kenyan diaspora. So that includes that includes everywhere, includes your country. So please encourage them to come back on the 25th of November at 3 p.m. That will be 3 p.m. Kenyan time. We will actually have the entire task force joining us, Professor Manavi, the chair, the PS, and the entire group just for one more round. So again, please join us on that day. And I understand you have to go because you're hosting His Excellency very soon. So we really appreciate it. We really appreciate
it. Mine is to express my solidarity. And this is a conversation that will continue. Yeah. Thank you for understanding. I needed to be here to see my fellow diasporans and to say this is a good road. Let us stick on it. And yes, congratulations again. So I beg your indulgence. There's a long day, like I said, ahead of us. But tuko pamoja.
Your Excellency, I just wanted to say hello. It's been so long since.
Oh my goodness! Oh, look at you! How are you?
Good to see
I'm
you,
so happy. Good to see you, David. You still look young. Life is obviously good. I don't see any gray hair there.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say how good and cute you.
Thank you. Hopefully when I'm back home, we'll have a chance to have a cup of tea.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm so happy to see you in this forum, Yeah. We need all of the diaspora, leaders and organizations to be part of this process.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And thank you so much. I just want to say hello. I know.
Thank you. I'm delighted to have seen you. You've actually made my day.
Oh, thank you. You made ours too. Thank you.
Yes, she did. She made our day. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Take care, people. God bless. And I will definitely join you for the next one.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate everybody coming. This is going to be a really nice small conversation. It's like I said, there's another meeting going on the other side, but this is what we need. This is who needs to be here. So the task force was established by His Excellency the President, and like I said, for the first time, the diaspora have been included. So I represent the diaspora, and please mute because we want order here. So and everybody will get to speak. So we will be in charge to review, not review. So I'll be very quiet because we are collecting views to collect views from diaspora pertaining, like I shared with the agenda. Let me share that real quick. And you can see the document that is a public document that we're using. So we are asking you to share your views on basic education. That includes the curriculum, the CBC. What are your views? What are your thoughts? What are your views? What are your suggestions? And then we're looking at tertiary education. And I posted a list of the guiding questions. Here we're looking at university education, and we're looking at TVETs. And then we have these issues that are cross-cutting across the three levels. So the basic education, the tertiary education, the cross-cutting issue, and the basic, the tertiary, and the university education. These are issues that are cross-cutting across all of them. Technology. So how do you see technology implemented all the way from the basic to the university? What are some legal and governance issues or your views on what is going on and what could be done? And then we're looking at funding and financing across the board, all the way again from basic to university, and then research, So what are your views? So we're here to just listen to your views. I will not, like I said, it's been very clear that we're just here to listen to your views. So what I've done is so that we can actually see each other and have that. I've posted on the chat, I've posted some guiding questions on that. I'll share that real quick, but I've posted those guiding questions so that we can, like, for example, we're looking at basic education. So what are your views on the governance structure on the basic education? What are your views on curriculum? And you can refer to those questions in everything that you want to address. I'm going to stop sharing so we can really see. So did everybody see the chat that I posted? That one has all the topics and it has all the guiding questions. So feel free to speak to any of those. This session is being recorded. Actually, it's being aired live on on Facebook, because we really want to show them, we really want to let them know that we are participating as a diaspora. This is a good time for us to participate. So what is happening with the task force is we've been divided into 10 groups. So all the groups are actually at the constituencies at the county level. They went down from November 1st, and the last day is actually tomorrow. So after tomorrow, we are meeting all day on the 14th, and we are supposed to submit our report. So again, as diaspora, we don't, what wanaongea tu. So we want to make sure that I share your views. So we've been working with the group to collect views on WhatsApp. Those of you, I'd appreciate if I can see more collection or more feedback on the Google Docs. And then with these views, we'll actually send this video to the secretariat so they can actually know the points, and we have a secretariat that does that. So again, feel free. We're going to start from the basic education. So if you want to speak to that, let's keep it to 5 minutes so everybody can have a chance, and let's really have that very nice conversation. So I will shut up and let's start with the basic education. Yes, I see Scholar. Is anybody's hand up? Nobody wants to share anything? What are your views on basic education?
Is it possible to also, I'm sorry, Professor.
Yeah, that's okay.
I never said hello, but how are you? And is it possible does everybody see those questions? They're posted in what? They're posted in the chat, right? I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. Hang on.
Yes, I posted them on the chat, but I just didn't want to take it. Do you want me to leave them running? But I thought we would see each other, because if I leave them,
yeah,
they're posted on the chat. Can everybody open those questions? Those are just some guiding. Let me show you what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm on the chat, but I only see one. Hang on.
I posted it.
Yeah, there is a PDF file there which you have posted.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and you can open it if you have a computer or something.
Okay, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm on my phone. I'm still in the office myself. That's why I'm finishing up something.
So I didn't want it, but look at those. So the first one is your basic education. So what are some of your views as to what is going on? I guess one of the questions is with the curriculum, and then there's a major question that we're really asking is, where would you see the grade 7 to be domiciled? So right now, the grade 6 are finishing the national exam at the end of the year, but where do they go? Those are young kids. Do you want to send them to secondary school? Do you want them to stay in the primary? So just speak up and share your thoughts.
Yeah, Professor, I wanted to say something very quick.
Please introduce yourself, tell us where you are, and then, so not quickly, take your time, okay?
Yes, my name is Dr. Dana Tambo. I am in Texas. I work for the city of Dallas as a civil engineer, and I also teach as an adjunct professor in the University of Texas at Arlington.
Okay.
I guess that should be enough for now.
Yeah, that's enough, yes.
Yeah, but one more thing I wanted to say. I have an organization down here which promotes education in the community. It's called TechScan. We recognize students who graduate every year, mostly the ones who graduate from high school. So I'm really involved in matters to do with education, from teaching in the university and also in the community and even in the church. So the question I had, it's easier to comment based on the questions you have raised here, but some of us might miss what's happening back home when you talk about, for example, CPC. What does it mean? We don't know. I would have suggested, but it's too late, if you had shared with us the baseline, maybe the basic information about these areas, what is happening there, then it would be easier for us to comment. Say, if I wanted to comment about this, I'll be basing my knowledge on what's happening in the community where I live, where my children go to school, if it's elementary school. Like in Texas, we have elementary schools, which I guess you are calling basic here. And then we have junior high and the high school. Now, depending on each school district, we have elementary school, some schools districts, the elementary schools end up at 5th grade. And they call it middle school, which starts from 6th grade. It goes all the way up to 8th. But some schools, they call it a junior high. It starts from 7th grade and ends at 9th grade. Now, so if I was to recommend, maybe I like the system where I am, I would say the juniors should start from 7th grade, and you can have them in that junior high, or call it middle school, whichever name they can give it. You know, they are like an age set. And then these are the guys who are maturing, who are in, say, from 10th grade to 12th grade. They are almost age mates. That's what I would recommend. But maybe you may want to respond to that. I guess it would have been easier for us to give good suggestions if we had a baseline, like what is it there? Because like when we went to school, I guess, Professor, you could be my age mate. When we went to school in the 90s, I went to University of Nairobi. That time, things were different. And now where we are now, so many things have changed, I guess. Especially when you talk of CPC and the way the media brings it out, it doesn't look very good, but then it looks like it's a good program which gives kids an opportunity to develop skills. And I would say, lastly, just one more thing. You know, when we went to school in Kenya, when I compare with the universities in
Yeah, what it is so while he's fixing himself over there, for those of you, and maybe one of the Dr. Michai or one of the moderators can help. We actually have 2 WhatsApp groups that are full. One is full, and we have 2, and we have shared all that information there. We have shared a brief PowerPoint on CBC, the current education system, the secondary. So we've shared all that information. Encourage you to join the WhatsApp, and so that again during our final meeting on the 25th, then we can share more informed more ideas. Okay, remember, please talk. I'm just supposed to listen. So who wants to share? Any thoughts? Sebastian, I see your hand is up.
Oh, I didn't know my hand was up. Now that you give me a chance. My name is Sebastian Onyango. I'm based in the UK. I'm actually working in the education sector with children from primary up to foundation university. I think the system in the UK is quite different because they have 6 years in primary, of which 2, they call it key stage 1, from year 1 to 2 is key stage 1. And then 3 to 6 is key stage 2. And then from 7 to 9 is key stage 3. And then 10 to 11 is key stage 4. That's when they do the equivalent of KCSE, BGCSE. Then they go to A level, which is key stage 5, from year 12 to year 13. And then university, key stage 6 from year 14 to year 16. So 3 years basic degree, and then master's year 17 to 18, and then PhD 17 to 20. So it depends on which level. Now, UK, the education is free. So all children are funded by the state, and they have a funding formula for allocating finance from primary up to A level. And then college and university is funded by the student finance and a government grant. So honestly, it's free throughout, because you don't have to pay if you can't afford. If you can afford, then you can take only the fee grant, and then you pay your own accommodation. So it's a choice you have. So, but government funds enough money for everybody who needs it. And even they give money for maintenance. Like if you have a family, they will give the family, the dependents, everybody. So it's quite efficient. And I think that even you find people at 40 years going back to school and the government will finance. I think at the very core concept of it, the belief in the UK is that education is actually for the society, it's not for individuals. So the reason the government finances it because they believe that the skill you're acquiring is for the community. And because it's for the community, you don't have to pay it alone. So the community shares that cost. So they have funding from the government kitty towards it. And then university also partner with the private sector in terms of research. So the money they generate for research is for just developing the equipments and the facilities, not really for financing the actual education. I think one of the key things that I find in the education, which I think maybe the working committee could borrow, is the fact that from the very young age, by the year 2, they assess the potential of the child. And so the assessment is more or less skill and development based. So they look at the development of the child all around and the potential of the child. So that by the key stage 2, which is year 6, they know a child who is a high achiever, who is a middle achiever, and who is a low achiever. By the time they get key stage 3, they know those who are going to follow the academic route, those who are following the technical route, those who are following the artisan route. So they have those 3 systems. So if you are following the academic route, then you proceed on to GCSE, do the higher tier of the courses like maths or science and technology, everything. Then you go to A-level and then you go to university. But if you are in the second tier, you do the technical, where you might do foundation and then go through the technical colleges. And then from the technical college, you can go to foundation university and then you carry on with your basic degree and then master's and carry on. Or you can go to college and just get a diploma or a certificate and then join the job market. Of course, obviously, UK economy is big enough. So wherever you do, you can still earn a good decent salary. It doesn't matter whether you are graduate or not. And in fact, professional courses pay more. So even if you go to university, you still have to get a professional credential. So for example, if you're a teacher, you do your degree and then you go and do QTS, which is 1 year internship in a school. So you are assessed and then you get qualified teacher status. If you're a doctor, the same thing. You qualify, then you have to work in a hospital for 1 year and then you get certified. So even engineer, everybody has to be certified. And it's that certification that's important in terms of your pay and progression. So it's really skill-based and professional-based. Now, my comments, which I was going to make, starting with, for example, primary curriculum, why I think our system isn't working so well. First of all, I'll be very critical, and I will allow me to be critical because that's what I do, yes? The first, I want to start with the content. The content, the way the content is presented in our education system is wrong, partly because our history, we don't cover our history properly. We don't honor our heroes, our natural heroes. Here in the UK, even when you're a teacher, you're teaching in class, you have to make it relevant to the current situation. For example, you'll be studying about Boris Johnson, who has just been kicked out of the premiership. You'll be arguing why he has been kicked out. If you are doing history, if you are doing civics, the same thing. Sociology, the same thing. You use a model to explain why he has failed or succeeded. And you will debate that. There's nothing like you have to use people who died long time ago who are not even relevant to the Kenyan economy to discuss politics or civics or things like that. Use the current situation. You are talking about science, you talk about the current scientists, what are they talking about? What's the current issue? We talk about it, we call it how science works. So even if you're teaching electricity, you go and teach the science relevant to the household. So how is science applicable in what children are doing in the household? How are fuses used to prevent breakout of fires and things like that? So making the curriculum really, really relevant to the circumstances of the society at that moment, so that you find that even if you are doing something on IT, you're not learning about programs like Excel, Word, which were there a long time ago. We're dealing with the current software development. What are the challenges? What kind of apps do we need to move the system, the industry forward? And one of the output of that is that you can find a small place, like where I live in a small city called Milton Keynes, about 60 miles from London. There's a college which just takes actually high school dropouts and then they train them technically. They have developed a robot which is now being used in the whole of the city to deliver products, like you can order food and they deliver to your door. They are not driven by anybody. They are driven by just satellite, just navigation system. And they come, they drive your food. When they arrive, you get a notification, you open the door, you pick your food, it drives to the next client, and so on. And they have a camera there, so that secures whatever they are delivering. So if somebody touches it, then it turns back and goes back, because then the food can be poisoned or something. So a very small college can make such an innovation. And in fact, they are saying that Milton Keynes is going to be testing the first driverless cars in the UK. And that's coming from a very, very small college you can't believe. It's not Oxford, not Cambridge, it's a small little college. That's how efficient they are in terms of meeting the needs of And that has come about because Milton Keynes apparently is like the nerve center of UK. They do a lot of distribution countrywide. So they have a shortage of human resource. So they are thinking of how they can meet the growing demand of the city, as well as also deliver to other cities where they are distributing in large quantity, but also deliver in small quantities within the estates and things like that. And they are testing this. And what they are saying, they now are investing in a university which will come 2023, they open it. And it will mainly be technology. So what I want the working team to think about is, how can we use the local language, local resources, local knowledge? Because even our people had knowledge. One of the things I was just reading today about something called miasma. You can Google it, miasma. Miasma is bad wind, which is believed to cause diseases. In my culture, Maluo, we used to talk about yamo. And yamo was a disease you couldn't explain, and it came with the weather. Now in the UK, we have the flu, which comes every year during November, December. Now we have a lot of leave, and I have one now. And this is because of Yamo, you know, it's because of the bad wind. But our people knew about this, and they had a way to stop you from being sick. There were things, herbs you could take. We have lost this knowledge. And why have we lost? Because we don't respect our own indigenous knowledge. We rubbish it. We go for foreign things which are expensive, which may not even meet our needs. Yet most of the things we need are within our locality, but our scientists and our researchers are not dwelling on that. Instead, they are going for funding from foreign companies whose agenda is different from our local situation. So my urge is this: when designing a new curriculum for the country, we have to think about how we are going to make it relevant to the needs of the people, relevant to aspiration of our people, to the economical well-being and cultural well-being, about the health needs of the population, using local resources so that we can reduce costs. Because now in Kenya, they talk of big money that even here.
Sebastian, look at the clock there. Let's try to finish so we can give
yes,
up.
okay.
So you have 53 seconds, 51 seconds.
Yeah, so I want to try to make it fast. So that was just one of the content. So we need to work on content, even language. You see, if you look at Europe, every country speaks their own language. As we are being forced to speak English, our people don't know how to call different things in English. So we are losing local knowledge. And so as we build our systems, we are basing on foreign ideologies which are aligned to us. So we need to tap into the local knowledge that was there before even the coming of these people with this current, what we call modern technology, because the modern technology is very expensive, and it's because you are importing it and people are charging you for that invention. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is threat. The biggest opportunity we have in Kenya is that we have an opportunity to export human resource. So when these committees, I beg you to give 1 minute, I want to talk about this, it's very important for me. Now, we have an opportunity to export qualified professionals to other countries. We may not have employment opportunities, but the world is opening up to properly trained professionals. And Kenya is not in shortage of these people. But what we need is to align ourselves in such a way that we can benefit from this international opening up of the labor market, so that although we may not have the jobs in Kenya, we can purposely repurpose and repackage our education system, produce high quality graduates that are in demand in other countries. And then the money they earn there, they can bring back to build our economy. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the government intentionally going out to meet other governments that may need human resource, negotiating memorandum of understanding, tapping into grants that can help them to meet the training needs of these countries, train graduates for them or take the diploma people, export it, and instead open employment outside our borders. And this is a big component. The community need to look at this and how we can use this to empower our communities. Because like the diaspora now, with about 400 billion every year going to Kenya, it's a big boost to the economy. We can triple that, or even we can make it 10 times. I know my time is up. I'm going to stop there, but please, on that note, make sure you cover that topic on how Kenya can strategically position itself to tap into the upcoming international labor market. It's a big thing. So instead of us cutting down education, let us expand it. Yeah. Get support from other governments and build it. Thank you.
Okay, Sebastian, what you can do, and I want to encourage everybody else, we have links on the chat, so go ahead and fill whatever you didn't say, go ahead and do that. I see Joshua and then David and then Dovison. I'm going to set up the clock. It's 5 minutes again, so everybody can talk. As we listen, please click on the links and put in your views. Again, we got to make our voices be heard as diaspora. So yes, Joshua, and then David Ochwangi, and then Dovison, sorry. And the clock starts. Please look at it.
All right, sure. Thank you. I don't think I'll even finish in 5 minutes, but
you can come back.
Sure.
Or you can write it down on the chat so we can give everybody time to speak.
Sure, sure. I just wanted to mention two key aspects that I think are important when we are looking at the education system. One is that in the generation we're in today, it's called the information generation. And what we should be selling more is teaching the students or the learners how to get information. We have too much information as it is currently. We came from an industrial age, and now we need to transition to information age. And what comes with information age is what we call globalization. And I'm happy that Sebastian mentioned that. I'm actually recruiting, nurses from kind of all over the world to work in US. And globalization is a big thing. We need to find a way that the education system should solve that in such a way that the key professionals, like maybe doctors, nurses, teachers, who can be exported from Kenya to other places, get that opportunity. I also wanted to mention that we need to find a way that the education system solves the local problems. And Sebastian had mentioned that, but I want to bring a case. I'm working with in partnership with Lake Michigan College to build a college in Sierra Leone. And what they are focusing on is agriculture, because this is a college that is being developed in the rural areas. And being in the rural areas, they're not bringing in the industrial age solutions. This college is mainly aimed at building entrepreneurship, which is going to solve the current problems, and bringing in technology into agriculture. So I think three things that I mainly talking about is bringing in entrepreneurship, encouraging globalization as well, and finally using technology. We are, if I go back to how it was in the past, oftentimes the students are using Google nowadays to get all the results. So there should be our system, this system, the education system that we are going into, it should be able to help the students to learn on how to use the information to solve the problems that are in the local area. Thank you.
You actually do not finish your 5 minutes. So again, go back and whatever you did not finish, put it on the link. And then when you speak up, introduce yourself and share the topic that you're addressing. Is it tertiary? Is it TVET or higher education? So that when we send it to the different, because we have committees on the task force, we have different committees, so they know where to direct that comment. David Ochwangi, you have 5 minutes. I'll reset it. We can always come back if everybody speaks. Yeah. Okay, good. There you go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you again, Prof. Good seeing you again. For those of you that joined tonight, my name is David Ochwangi. I go by David Ogega. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Prof and I go way back. There's a lot of things we do together for the community. I guess some of my titles, at least one of them is I'm the chair of the Association of Kenyan Diaspora Organizations. And we go out there to help bring the diaspora community together. But secondly, at least what's relevant to our discussions tonight is that I'm also an adjunct professor. Whenever I get assignments or have time, I teach university, several of them. In that role, I've been also able to do a lot of curriculum development and curriculum design. So this is one area that I really, really feel very strongly about. So one of the things, at least from what we've seen, what the president tasked this group to do is, we can go by what it's called. It's called competence-based curriculum. And in that realm, there's so much that goes in it, but primarily, I think what the president wants to do, in fairness to him and the rest of the country, is develop employable or future employers in our country. It's clear that that's not been what's happened over the many years that we've done this. And I commend the last two speakers that spoke that the world is changing, as we all know. And what I want to focus on more than anything, I know I have very limited time, is that what are the skill sets that we need to impart or teach our kids or the graduates from elementary school, tertiary school, secondary school, university or tertiary, whatever you want to call it. And that should, to me anyway, should be the driver of how else we structure and administer those programs. So in that sense, we all know China, for example, a lot of companies are moving from China. They are looking for places where they can set shop. And Kenya is really one of those countries. So having said that, if at this point, this opportunity that has been extended to us to have an impact on the future of the education of our people, if we start introducing elementary school kids to practical skills, making products, getting them to, it could be making furniture, it could be making anything, and then by the time they transition to high school or secondary school, these kids are doing a lot of information schooling or learning how to do let's say, computer designs or computer-aided designs and manufacturing, for example, 3D printing, and then, they would be, we can find a place or companies or organizations or countries partner with the overseas ministries of education to try to help those kids, bring them over, for example, in the United States. I've worked with colleges that are looking for talent. Working in a manufacturing environment where we actually bring students or even trade school students and bring them to the organization, and we have them take apart engines, for example. They literally take it apart and put it all together. So those opportunities are there that if we wanted to utilize them, they're available. And it's just a good thing that now this opportunity is open, and we hope we expand it. So we bring the brightest among us in our country. We saw what happened in Japan after World War II. Many of those engineers, even South Korea, actually, they came to the US, many of them, they learned how to make vehicles. The first ones they made were not so good, but look where we're buying more Toyotas from. So we want to teach those skills so that our kids, once they graduate, they go back, they make tooling, they do anything that goes to making products, whether it's parts, whether we bring Apple and all these companies back home to set shop there. I know my time is up. I'll stop there, but I just want to give a sense of, what I see, what my vision is. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Whatever you did not finish, put it on the chat, put it on the Google. It will all be sent out with everything. All right.
Yes.
Davison, and you can always come back. We just want to give everybody the chance to. Davison, you have 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself and the topic that you're addressing.
I was muting myself and talking to myself. Thank you very much, Professor, for that. I just want to say that I don't know if I need to introduce myself, but I've been hanging around these systems for quite a long time. I am a program director and associate professor here at Andrews University in Michigan. So I went through the whole system, the 7-4-2-3 system. A number of us probably did the same. We rushed out of that system, went to the 8-4-4. And it seems like we're also rushing out of that, the CBC system. When I think the key component over here that I ask myself when I look at the CBC is that why did we move to the CBC? Theoretically, the CBC has a few core components, which include communication, collaboration, critical thinking, imaginative and creativity, good citizenship and learning and all these things. But then what it seems like, I kind of wondered, did we get rid of the 8-4-4 system because what? Did it run out of value? Or were we not able to train enough professionals to serve the purpose that could promote the country's educational system and create jobs and of course, internationalize our graduates. It seems like the way we moved out of the old system, the 7423 to the 844 system, I don't think it was well prepared to transition that system. And what I see now, I feel like the CBC system, while it may be well intentioned, I also feel like there is some preparation that needed to go in between, behind the scene, before the system was transitioned into. Because what I see now is that we have so many graduates from the old systems who can get jobs. Well, as my previous speaker may have spoken, that maybe we didn't do a good job preparing the graduates. But I'm just kind of wondering then, as my own opinion, somebody interested in academia and trying to see our country grow and flourish in many ways, I feel like this system needs to be looked at, which is a good thing that this task force is being formed. But I still feel like there's a lot more that needs to go behind it to make this system succeed. Because right now what I see is that we look at our schooling system, the way our schools were established during my old system. I remember there was a very few national schools. And obviously those national schools probably would be 10. Today we have quite a number of them. But still, when we go to the CBC, how are we going to deal with this? To make sure that we equate, or there's equal opportunities for these students who come from those poor rural places that there are no schools, or their environment isn't set up enough to make them be nationally competitive. So my view here is to propose that this system, as it's being looked at, we need to look at the fact that how can we improve? We are setting up already, the system is moving on. They already started it. What, like 6th grade or standard 6 now it's supposed to be moving on. So it needs to be looked up to make sure that there is equal opportunities. And the potential success in this system is the resources that are invested into it. And I think I can stop there. I didn't look at the clock. I don't know how much time I have. But I can probably go on and on. But
no, the clock is, you still have 1 minute.
Okay, yeah, so the looking at the better system of promoting our Kenyan graduates is to internationalize our education, to support what the previous speaker was saying. We have to train professionals who not only are marketable in Kenya, but they are international. I mean, most of us are here in the diaspora because we happen to have been in the diaspora because our system helped us, pushed us to be who we are today. So the CBC, the next question I have is, where has it succeeded, and what can we pick the model from where it has succeeded to utilize it in Kenya to better it so that it can also succeed for us? I think I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. I see Frank, and then Eddie, and Jesse, and Danson in that order. Thank you. Again, let's fill the forms. Honestly, let's be counted. We do this right, we'll get more diaspora involved in other areas. So let's do this right, and okay, you have 5 minutes starts.
Basically, my name is Frank Wabali. I'm based in UK. And I want to contribute a few points because I've worked as a career advisor and as a trainer, and I still continue and do many other things. And I feel there are some few points I could add to what the rest have given. Number one is exposure to the labor market. The CBC or whichever education system that Kenya adopt need to expose the kids from primary school to secondary school to university into the labor markets. Like here in UK, we get the guest speakers, they come and speak to the kids, and sometimes the kids will be taken to the factories or taken to different places where they can see the jobs as they happen. That exposure is very important so that they can make informed decision. Number two is vocational courses. Not everyone who will be trained to go to university, but they can go into the vocational areas that are of interest. But before that happens, at early stages, when they reach class 4 onwards, they need start to be teachers to talk about the different vocations and what they can lead to. And teachers need to stop looking on short-term vocational courses. they need to look on the long term because the labor markets is changing and the shifting is shifting towards technology-based type of jobs. The other thing is teachers need to embed on dynamic of changing education, because as we are seeing, most of the jobs, they are going to go away because of the digitalization and other changes that are happening everywhere. So they need to start talking to the kids about the change in labor market jobs so that they make informed decision. The other thing, as the president said the other day, all the universities in Kenya, they need to start focusing on degrees that are relevant to the market demand. Degrees that will be outpaced by the technology, or the degrees that cannot produce the jobs should not be funded at all, because they will lead nowhere. The other point is that the ambassadors all throughout the world, the government needs to talk to them. They look for opportunities for the Kenyans graduates, the college graduates and the university graduates, so that whatever is produced in the colleges and in the TFET and universities and all that kind of thing is being observed internationally. And that way we will not be having people leaving schools and colleges without going somewhere else. The other thing is, and I say this because part of most of my work in UK, I've worked as a career advisor, is we need this, all the schools, they need to have career advisors at a very early age. From class 4, career advisors need to be available, and they need to be independent career advisors, not career advisors who will come and talk about where they have conflict of interest, but start talking to the kids. Mentoring and coaching need to be available to everyone. The other one is that the government need to embed and create silicon laboratories. Not only the one where the government has been talking about Konza City. Every county needs to have a silicon labs for full equipped with IT and qualified teachers who will be able to be giving the kids from class 4 onwards, so that people can start researching and developing the products. If you look at the people who have produced the product, whether it's Apple or any other company, early age of exposure in technology will help quite a lot. The other thing is that the government needs to start funding those people who are innovative and who can create jobs. If a kid is picked up and is talented and can be able to go towards the creativity and innovativeness, let that be funded straight away. The other thing is the learning materials need to be updated regularly. And lastly, e-learning. You cannot ignore the issue of learning. The way the government is going, employing so many teachers, and the funding is not available, or they don't have enough money. The Kenyan government needs to embed e-learning, but that e-learning needs to be blended learning, so that the kids are not left alone. So there are many things that they could do, but I feel if they take that direction, it would be great. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, all the way from London. That's why I wasn't going to push it. It's 1:57 a.m. in the morning, so that is sacrifice. We appreciate.
Could I just add a few points to what he
Joshua,
said?
let's have everybody speak first, and then we can come back. But you can write those down. Honestly, write those down in one of the forms. You can say on, yeah, so write those down because we'll review them. Okay. Who was next? I think it was Eddie. Yes, it was Eddie.
Yes.
And then
Hi, thank you, Prof. My name is Eddie. I'm a graduate student at Indiana University.
Ooh.
And part of my interest is curriculum and curriculum development. And I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm going to be very concise, okay, just so that everybody gets an opportunity. So based on what everybody else is saying, very good points. I think that curriculum content should match the purpose of education. So we need to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of education in Kenya, all levels? What are we trying to do? Because without that, we are going to be learning everything. We are going to try to put in engineering in primary school. We are going to try to put in medicine in wherever. What is the purpose? What are we trying to achieve? And once we know that purpose, we are going to create curriculum content to match that purpose. And then after we decide on that content, then teacher education should match that curriculum content. Because I'm hearing suggestions on teaching students computer science, teaching them to do all sorts of things, but I'm not hearing who is going to implement this, you know? Who is going to implement this in Isiolo? Who is going to implement this in Migori? Away from Nairobi, away from all the high-end private schools. Who is going to implement these? This means that the teacher education is going to change. Teacher education is going to change in the universities. Teacher education is going to change in the teacher training colleges for this curriculum content to be implemented. And therefore, teacher education will need to be designed such that it aligns up with the purpose of education in Kenya. So that brings me back to what is the purpose of education in Kenya. And then thirdly, the resources that are being distributed need to line up with the curriculum content. We cannot require students in primary school, for example, to learn computer science when there is no electricity in certain schools, when there is no internet connection in certain schools. It has to be, the resources need to be readily available for all these schools for this curriculum content to be practical for everyone. Okay, so just to go back to my 3 points. First, we need to know what is the purpose of education. What are we trying to do with this curriculum? Second, the teacher education needs to be directed towards, to match the needs of this curriculum content and to match the purpose. And then the resources that are going to be applied need to meet the needs of this curriculum content, not just in the high-end areas where certain resources are available, but especially in the remote areas that these resources might not be available. I think this is a good summary of what I had to say. Thank you.
You didn't use up all your time. You still have 2 minutes, but thank you. That was good. Danson, and then, oh, it was Danson or Jesse first. I'm sorry. I don't see Jesse. Okay, let's have Danson and Jesse Muchai. Did he disappear? I thought I saw Jesse. I saw Jesse. Okay. So Danson and then Jesse and Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I'll just touch a little bit on technology part of it. I was suggesting that the education system in Kenya should do what we call the integrated student support system. This system, it will cover a range of areas. For example, funding. Right now, we have students who are funded by the government, funded by NGOs, funded by the constituent, different levels of funding. However, you realize that you have normally duplications among this funding. You find one student receiving multiple sources of funding, and one student doesn't have anything at all. So we need to have an integrated system in such a way that you are able to tell the ministry or the education system can tell that this particular student is already funded, or this particular student needs some funding. So that is an area we can apply technology to track and also sort out the duplications in our education system. Like the other day, we had an incident in Bungoma County whereby they say some students were funded in high school, but they were not there. But millions of money has already been spent. So such a thing, we need an integrated system in the whole country, and it can be custom to a specific institution. Number two is about our exams. Prof, I don't understand why at this level, we still have teachers carrying exams to go give to students, yet we have technology. We have technology that can create random questions. Look at, for example, in the US or UK, you can go to a classroom with a computer, then you see the exam is already set up there, then the questions be coming randomly. So teachers who are setting these exams, for example, I'll use biology, they'll be like, a student must do biology or must do chemistry, and we need the MOL concept. We can do all questions under the MOL concept exhaustively, then we put them in the system. So they will be randomly coming to a student as he or she is doing the exam. Well, you'll say that our country is not well funded in terms of technology, but we have some learning in schools, like for example, Kanga High, Alliance Girls, Kenya High, Stare Boys, the schools that have some infrastructure in already. We can start with those ones to do the national exams. Because if you look at the budget, you are spending from, you are sending a teacher to set the exam. After setting, they need to be printed. And right now, the paper actually have some security features because of cheating. So you can imagine how much money goes to that. Then you'll have to pay the teachers who are the supervisors. You have to pay also maybe the police, all that resource just around the exam only. If we apply technology, we can cut off, we can use that funding to actually get computers and good in internet. For example, the president has been talking about the digital highway. So let's spend in the technology. Then we stop this issue that a certain school did not have an exam just because it was raining. Technology can solve all that. And it can be done progressively from our our primary school, all the way to the universities. And I'm so shocked right now, Prof. In our universities, you find a university has been chartered as offering technology, but you find a student is not graduating just because he missed a mark, he missed marks. How on earth at this level, in the digital era, that a student you cannot find marks for a student? And you find this professor being recognized, oh, you did a wonderful job, but students who are missing marks. They have spent years in school, but they cannot graduate just because he missed a cut or an assessment. So we need to use technology in our exams, and we get rid of these papers. Yeah, actually, that is an area I want us to do. Also, it can help us to monitor the health system in our children, especially the mental health, because you can tell. You can be doing random surveys among students, then you tell in this particular area students are stressed because of this, so that is an area that technology can work. Another area is our strike. We have student unrest. We can apply technology. Let's have CCTV cameras in our schools so that when these unrests are being planned, the institution can easily know that this is going on. So we need to apply technology in our system. We have no other choice, but you can do it progressively. And that's why the other member was saying that, yes, we have people who may be willing to offer their support, but we need we want it to be done in an organized way. Just lastly, on the same issue, I wanted us to have the diaspora to be so much engaged in an education system. And we need a bridge for that. Right now, we look for our own funding or donors. We take them to our school or they open our own private schools. We can have a body that can now channel us, bridges between the diaspora and the education system in Kenya. Let's go Diaspora Education Council, for example, making up, bringing all the education institutions in the diaspora, partnering. Then they'll say, oh, we have an area, for example, in data science, that we need this expertise in our country. So we need a body that is going to bridge and bring all these institutions, the diaspora, to the education system. Thank you, Prof. I just wanted to make it brief and continue sharing also on my phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call Kevin and Ogla and Gilbert, I'm going to take a commercial break. No, not a professional break, and invite our ambassador, His Excellency Lazarus Amayo. He was held up in another meeting. Your Excellency, your colleague and my classmate all the way from Seoul, Korea, Ambassador Mwende Mwinsi, was here at the beginning to open the session for us and to welcome us. So we welcome you to say something. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Jerono Rotich, and distinguished participants on this very, very, very important assignment. I've been listening. Sorry, we didn't begin with you from the start because we had another meeting that went slightly longer than we thought. But I wanted this evening to do and to do more of the listening, because some of the issues that were pertinent to me have had colleagues already raised. And it is important that we have a review and come up with what we can be able to live with for a generation. The challenge we have is the frequency of changing education systems. Just like there used to be complaints when some of us were teachers that the textbooks were changing at a very frequent rate, which was a problem also to parents. But we welcome the initiative to gather views and suggestions from practitioners, from stakeholders on this very important topic of education. And as I heard some of the participants already say, it is important that what we get out in Kenya is good for our graduates in Kenya, and also their admissibility, and they're able to be the capacity to have them transfer credits to institutions or in acceptability in other institutions of higher learning beyond Kenya, mutual recognition of our certificates. We would not like a case where we come up with a system which at times will subject our students to foundation courses, while if it was well structured, they could be able to go in to the graduate program itself. But what has impressed me, whether it is here in the US or in the United Kingdom or even in India, is that our students do relatively much better, even with the 844 education that we had. Yes, we are moving into CBC. It is important that you give it a thorough professional analysis and give recommendations that can be able to guide policy makers in deciding what can last more than a decade, 2 decades, or into the future. But for today, mine, as I said, was to listen. I'm an interested party. I trained to be a teacher, taught for a while, and for 4 years was also an assistant minister for education. So I'm interested in the discussions that are going on. But I thank you, Professor Jerono. Congratulate you on your appointment. And I thank you for convening this important forum for discussing this very, very, very important topic. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for standing with us. This means a lot. Like I shared at the beginning when Ambassador Mwinsi was here, we have another meeting on the 25th. It's 7 a.m. our time, so it's after Thanksgiving. Tumekula taki, tuamuke asubuhi, because they wanted all the members of the task force. That would be 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Kenyan time. All the task force members will join us, Professor, the chair, the PS for education, the PS for diaspora. So all the members, government officials will be with us on that day. So we just wanted to capture those who will not be there, but I encourage all of you to come. What we've also done, Ambassador, is we have 2 WhatsApp groups, and we've been sharing our thoughts. We have Google links. So if you've not shared in the WhatsApp group, if you've not shared in the Google Doc, and we have very amazing skill sets. We have somebody who's actually going to the WhatsApp group and coding all the messages into the 3 themes, the basic education, the tertiary education, as well as the tertiary, that is TVET, and the university education. Right now, all the task force members are out in the county. So this is our county, the diaspora. We get back, we regroup, and we have to submit a report on the 14th. So I appreciate you coming. And when you meet His Excellency, please thank him on behalf of the diaspora that he committed to include diaspora, and tell him that we want him to include diaspora in all other sectors. So this is just the beginning, but we would like to see more diaspora in the different task forces, in the different committees. And so we appreciate that. Thank you again. So we will move to Kevin. Again, Kevin, I did not set the clock for Ambassador, but I'll set it for you. Okay, so each person has 5 minutes so that everybody can share their thoughts. Kevin. Just look at my screen when your time is up, you will stop.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for, first of all, congratulations on your nomination. I know it's the first time when in person, and it's excellent to organize this event. So I have some kind of 4 suggestions through my experience. So I was also a trained teacher in Kenya, and I taught German language for a couple of years before I moved to Germany to pursue further studies. And through my transition, I've come to learn some things which probably can be applied. So first, I'll speak about the funding, because at the moment, I'm in the financial services industry. So one thing which can be done in terms of funding is they should introduce something here in the US they call 529 plan. That's like a unit trust whereby parents can fund education for their children and they get a tax break. Like the government should support such a funding mechanism. So more information is available on that on 529 on how it can implement it. We can discuss that further. And another suggestion is the county, still on funding. The counties, agencies should look at way they can finance, can create bonds to finance education facility. To use an example here in New Jersey, we have the New Jersey Education Facility Authority, which issue bonds to build facilities for universities within the state. So the same thing can be done by counties. They should form agencies which can issue bonds and to help to finance education institutions within the counties. The third suggestion I have is on TVET. TVET, it will be a short answer. I know a lot has been spoken about the Germany model, how the tertiary education model is great. And I think Kenya should just copy it. Should just copy it and see how it can be applied to the Kenyan system. And even if the students don't get jobs afterwards, those are the jobs which are in demand abroad. They're looking for plumbers, they're looking for carpenters, they're looking for craftsmen. They can be able to export that skill in other countries. So that's one thing which they definitely look at improving how the, training for things like craftsmen, how is it done? How can it be done efficiently? So Germany model is the best to copy. And last but not least, we need to include or improve the cultural content in the curriculum. For example, we learn Swahili from class 1 all the way to Form 4, but then somebody coming out of Form 4 is not able to speak Swahili fluently, as somebody say, like me, I learned German from Form 1 up to Form 4. I'm able to teach it once I do it in college. But then in Kenya, when you do it from class 1, the way it is taught is quite different. So they need to look at how the language actually is even taught and how relevant is it in the system. That way it's more attractive to the learners and they can be able to have practical use of it. So cultural content of our curriculum should be promoted. I think I'll stop there for now.
If you have more information on the London system, or I think you said for the TVET, please feel free to share. What we also do is if I receive a document, we have a WhatsApp group for the committee, so we share all those documents. So if you have additional documents with details, we have a research committee that reviews all those documents and sees what they can come up with. So in that order, we have Ogla, Gilbert Makomere, Dr. Mwalali, and Gilbert Jerono, and Joshua. So please take your positions in that order.
Hey, Dr. Professor Jerono, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I am just so proud of you and the fact that you're involved in this right now, because I've had the honor and the pleasure to see you actually do a lot of the groundwork the past, 5, 6, 7 years, and the impact that you actually have on the education system, literally across the world. I'm going to be a little bit controversial because I am nothing of the cookie cutter that all of you are. I did not graduate with a
It is your views. So that's why I'm not commenting. Your views are your views. I'm just listening. So
I know. I did not graduate with a bachelor's degree. I don't have a master's degree. I don't have a PhD. I'm not a doctor or an engineer. And my company in the United States is poised to actually bring in about 30 billion Kenya shillings in sales this year. So I grew up in rural Eldoret in the village of Kapseret, and just kind of got that lottery system where I got into Moi Girls. And then from Moi Girls, I went to Utalii. Then from Utalii, I was recruited by Disney. And I really think that there's a big gap in the Kenyan education system where, and everything that all of you have talked about tonight has everything to do with their hardware. And the fact is, in society, the hardware part of education is only like literally 20% of what it correlates to the success of a human being in life. The bigger portion, which is the 20%, is the software, which is the mindset. And I think in the Kenyan education system, that's where we're lacking, is the mindset of success. We need to infuse the mindset growth into all levels of our education to help people be able to see such a bigger picture of what their capabilities are and their potential are in doing such big things in life. And that's kind of what I got growing up in Kapseret. I was a typical kid that walked to school, didn't have much, one pair of uniform, one pair of shoes. And yet I met Mr. Kimani when I was only in nursery school. And he told me, you have something about you that's very unique, and you're going to do something really big in the world. And then I met more Mr. Kimanis, and I went to Moi Girls High School. As Dr. Jerono, you know, right, Professor, that Moi Girls was all about standards of excellence. It wasn't so much about pushing education and tests and passing. It was about you being an excellent human being all around. And then I went to Utalii, and our principal in Utalii was all about, you know, this is a ladies and gentlemen based organization serving ladies and gentlemen. And we kind of adopted the Ritz-Carlton philosophy of excellence in everything. And I really believe that starting from primary, then to high school, and then to college in Utalii, I was just brought up in an environment of excellence. Excellence was spoken about more than anything else. And by pushing me to be excellent human being, performing very high, I just grew up into that environment. So a couple of things I want to share with you guys. I really do think that there's some portions of mindset that needs to be introduced into our education. And unfortunately, it starts with parents in the house in Kenya. A lot of our parents just delegate the success of their kids to school and teachers, and that's it. They're hands off. They want nothing to do with it. We've got to hold our parents accountable to a level of success and excellence within the environment in the home that pushes their kids. And then the other thing too, we've got to invest in our teachers. My grandfather was, on my mom's side, married 5 wives, 34 children. Of the 34 children, 19 of them have a bachelor's degree, 11 of them have a master's degree, 5 of them have PhDs. It's just how my grandfather ran his family. It was all about excellence, service to the community. And you can see how it translates across the board all the way to multi-generations later on. And you can see the pattern here, right? The next thing is, I really think that this is great what we're doing right now, but what if we create prototypes of success within diaspora? What if we actually did some surveys of the entire diaspora system, whether it's the United States or Canada or England or Australia, and really study the success stories of individuals that have done really well and go back to history and then look at what were the trends, what were the common factors that actually led those people to be so successful. And then once we establish that, we can have a grassroots. The reason I say that is, in the United States, I don't care what anybody says here, I really think that education system in the United States, especially in elementary and middle school and high school, is very substandard to my standards. My children have not been in a regular class in the United States ever. I had all of them tested for the gifted program, the IQ, and that earned them certain programs within the county that nobody talks about in the United States. And with that, my daughter, who's 22, graduated from Columbia University, Ivy League school, now just got promoted this week She is a controller for Google in Austin in the finance department. And I can see my other children following that same trajectory because number one, the environment in my household is all about excellence. It's all about pushing them to understand that they have so much more potential and capability in what I see in the United States as a substandard education system. It doesn't meet my standards in any way at all. So they have this accessibility to other things that pushes their talent, expands their brains. And my 14-year-old just started her first engineering class and she's going into the biotech world, not because of anything else, but because of what I do at home as a parent, as I take a very big responsibility to that. The other thing too is we can look at Kenya and point fingers all day. Kenya got to do this, this, and this, and this. We are the ones that got away. We are the ones that are exposed. We are the ones that are successful. We are the ones that are what we call the success stories. So we have to be part of the solution, meaning that the diaspora have to be held accountable on the mentorship part. So there has to be a structure within our school system in Kenya that holds us accountable to participate and pour into our society. Meaning we take back what we've learned and we pour back into the young by teaching, by mentorship, by involvement, by developing of new, whatever curriculum we want to develop, instead of just trying to solve something. And I just want to end it by saying, you can't just fix the hardware part of the problem. There's no history or research in the world that has shown that if you solve the technical piece, which is what we are talking about here, when we did this and this and this and this and this is where we're going to head. Now, we've got to go to the software part of it. And we have the capacity as a diaspora to take, for example, myself, I run a huge business. I have multiple nonprofit organizations that I'm responsible for that trade $1 million all over the world to help other communities. We have right now 11 projects all over Africa that are doing big things to sustain Africa, not just Kenya. 80% of our projects are in Kenya, but we also have projects in Malawi and South Africa and other countries, because to me, that's my responsibility, is to give back to my continent without expecting anything back from my continent. I don't criticize, I don't participate, I don't fault. All I do is say, look at me every single day in the mirror and say, what can I do to give back? So what I do is I mentor other people that are not African, that have resources and money to then take those resources and pour. Now, some of our children are very successful. My daughter works for Google. I've challenged her to work with Google Kenya to create programs that can go to rural Kenya and provide resources at no charge to every part of Kenya that is accepting of that responsibility. So I just want to kind of put that back to us, that we can point fingers all day, but guys, the solution for Africa and Kenya is with us.
Thank you so much, Ogla. Actually, there's a question that we have, I think, for the remaining days on what is the role of community, the role of parents and community in the engagement of the education system. So as you speak, I think that's a question that we haven't really addressed. You've addressed that, what you're doing, but what happens to those parents in the village who do not have the capacity to be fully engaged? So that is actually a thought. So think about that, or other speakers can address that. Thank you so much, Ogla. We're going to go to Gilbert. Let's try to keep to the 5 minutes. We can always come back if everybody has had a chance. Gilbert.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof, for the opportunity. Just to patch up on what Ogla said, I think that's the point I was coming to. My name is Gilbert Makomere. I'm the President Kesin, a human development scientist. Mine is to anchor on what she said. We might talk about the hardware, the structure, the systems, without talking about the software, which is the family unit, which is the community, which is the constituency, the county, and the country. we are 85% of our environment. What happens in our environment? What happens in our home? I always ask myself this question. We fail when we are home. When we transit in this country, we succeed. So what is the problem? Our environment changes when you come here. You reach here and you realize, man, it's not the degree. It is the goal. Where you're going to. What do I need to do to reach where I'm going to? I need to put in work. I need to network. I need to read about what other people have done in my line of way. Is it that what we are doing back at home? Education starts from the family unit, from home. And I know our society is different. When you move outside here, this is an individualistic society. Ours is a collectivist society at home, which is better. That's why you heard her saying, education here seems substandard to what is happening at home, because at home, education is bound to be community. If you come from a community that understands, embraces education, it will be so easy for you to succeed. Our main goal should be to fight poverty, not to go to school to get to get a certain position, because as you have realized, it's not education that pushes you to a position. It is the simple mannerism. It is the simple structure that a kid has been taught from the basic unit of the family. And that is where we should put all our energy. We might have the best structure, the best curriculum, but you see, when we don't take care of the basic unit, when the kid at home, the mental capability to grasp what the teacher is saying is not there. When the kid at home has seen how the mother was being beaten, how do you expect that kid to go and grasp what you're giving? If a teacher has slept hungry, a teacher has not been paid, we expect the same teacher to go and disseminate information to the student. How possible can that be? If we have this corrupt system, we have not heard us talking about governance. That is one of the things that is killing us. If what the kid sees on the TV daily is how corrupt our leaders are, what else should we be teaching this student that you need to get education wholesome? No, she'll tell you, no, I need to go to school to be like that leader they are talking about. I need to go to school to be a politician. I need to. That's why we start setting, we start fracturing our kids' mind, being biased towards certain subject. A kid goes to school knowing a better job for me to do is to be a doctor. How many people have succeeded in other grounds without going to medical school? We should, as Ogla said, we should inculcate as early as kindergarten how a kid will grow up appreciating everything in the community. And is this community well structured? If we don't address the basic unit of life, which is the family, then all these systems, I think, will not work. And that's why you see in such countries, when we come here, they insist. They are so much protecting the kids against adversities in the community, so that the kids get the best in school. They'll protect the family unit. They try the level best, as far as it's not the best as compared to home. But you see, they are giving it much effort to ensure that they have a generation that will be able to coexist, so that they achieve a collective goal as a community. I think those are my views for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Dr. Mwalali, Gilbert, Jerono, Joshua, Ursula, Julie, and Cecilia in that order. Please unmute and watch the clock. Dr. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Jerono, for giving me time just to make just my comments. And first, I will start by congratulating you for this nomination to guide this heavy task. It is a really heavy task. And I must thank you very much for actually getting into a very good approach of just using this forum to collect information. This forum has been inclusive, so you are getting information from a cross-section of the community, and that is very important. Of course, through His Excellency, the Ambassador, it's also good to let His Excellency know that this was great to involve the diaspora people to have a voice in this great initiative. Now, I just want to make brief many comments because I have been following the chat and a lot has been said. And I'm glad that all this is being put through a very fine filter to pick the information which is relevant to each of the levels we are addressing. So that is great. And the only thing I can say is the changes in the education system is something which needs to be taken very seriously. Because I happen to be, in fact, one of those people who were involved in the change of education. I was in the first group which did when we are moving from 844 to 7, 3, and 2, something like that. Because I remember we did our exam when I was in standard 7 and we did an exam with those who are in standard 8 to go to Form 1. And that was, I think, 65, 64. And since then, education has been changing. But then, as one have said, the change of education and changing of the curriculum does not seem to match, the training of the teachers does not match that. And that is something which needs to be taken seriously when it comes to changing from this to that. It is not the years which matter. What matters is how the teachers are prepared and how the students are prepared. There's an issue of the parents themselves, and that came out from one of the speakers who talked about the parents, because there's need to think about parent education program to go alongside with what we are going to be designing, because the children require a lot of support, from home as they grow. And we have to also to know that some of those families might not have the capacity even to advise the children, and therefore we have to see what can be done to assist and educate those children and support them to be able to support their children. There's an increasing innovativeness amongst the new product of students, and this one need to be supported because even when you go to the village, you see now people have been very aggressive. You find the young people are aggressive towards being innovative and starting businesses so that at least they can get self-employed. I think this is something we need to. Now, we need to look at what is driving the children to make their goals. And in Kenya, I think as one has just said, there are some who set their goals of success through the corruption they are seeing around the community. And I think that is something to be addressed. The accreditation needs to be addressed. As we prepare our students, we need to know they are going to look for opportunities elsewhere. And therefore, the accreditation needs to be reviewed, and we need to have a voice on when it comes to what is needed when students are being screened to continue with education in some of these foreign countries, because there are shortcomings. In fact, there could be a problem where the accreditation includes people being attached and to emerging professionals so that they continue practicing their skills while they are going through the accreditation process. But sometimes that does not happen. Somebody would come and would be left in the code for some time until they say, I'm not going to wait for that long, and they start now deviating to other things. So the accreditation process needs to be elected. And I think my time is over. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
I don't want the meeting to be another one.
Yes, thank you. Let's not, we're organized here, so we can, like I said,
Yes.
This report is going to the commission, so we do not want to look, but you're right, It's been a lot of work. My days have been starting at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., especially the days we have meetings. I wake up,
Yes.
all day. Yusla, oh no, it's Gilbert and Jerono. Gilbert?
Thank you, Professor Jerono.
Oh.
And
Okay.
yes, Gilbert was here, but he stepped away, and he will put his own comment on assessment. He's an expert for the assessment, so he will put his in the WhatsApp.
Great, we need that.
Yes, so I'm going to comment on curriculum, the CBC curriculum, and my name's Dr. Maria Njiro. I was a teacher in Kenya before coming here, and coming here, I changed majors. Now I'm a doctor in nursing practice. However, my children have gone through the CBC curriculum here. So one thing that I would like to comment on is on the resources. I echo the speakers who have spoken before me because they have had very good points. And so part of the resources that I would like to add for Kenya's, for the Kenyan system to succeed in implementing the CBC, we need the resource teachers for the primary schools, because we know the classroom teacher has to deal with the entire group, and there is little time to handle those children with who may have extra needs or who may have some challenges. So it will be helpful that that part is also created in implementing CBC. And also, for part of the resources, there will be a need for someone to sensitize the parents, particularly those who have, there are parents who are very much involved in education, even if they are not literate, but still we have parents who have the need to be pushed to be able to provide for what the school needs, for what the child needs to succeed in school. So with the CBC, we know it's a demanding system, as in that for all the many projects, we will need the libraries for even those primary kids. We will need the laboratory for science experiments and all this kind of stuff. So we will need the parents involved, and it cannot just be the classroom teacher asking the parents to get fully involved. We need also to have a way to reach the parents in a way that we are not blaming the parent, we are not blaming the child, we are trying to create that conducive environment. So those were the things that I wanted to add, and I'll save the time for the next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my sister from KCFA, Kenya Christian Fellowship. Yusla, I don't see Yusla all the way from Alaska. I thought your hand was up. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, there you go. All the way from
Nevada.
Nevada. I was like,
from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Well, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Jerono, and congratulations, and thank you for the work that you do on behalf of the diaspora. Like Okla said, I've also watched you over the years put some serious work into this. So we're so proud that the new government looked into making sure the diaspora voice is represented, and we thank you for the work that you're doing. I just have two things that I got to add. I think a lot of people have said a lot of things. One is we need to do an integration of arts. Remember, I don't know most of you, when you're going to high school, we had drama and music, and it allowed kids to express themselves and be who they are, because you can't really just do science STEM without arts integration on that. So bringing back the music, the dance, and the competitions that went with that, I think was very beneficial for those of us that grew up in the 844 system. So I'm aging myself right now. The other thing that I think needs to be looked at is the role that sports plays in, I have two sons that I was a runner myself. I came here to go to college on a, not necessarily on a track scholarship, but I ended up with a track scholarship. So in Kenya, we have a pool of talent and great kids. What does sports teach all of us? Discipline, perseverance, hard work, and all the things that go with it. So I think moving into, looking into the future, we need to work on making sure that that pool of talent that we have on the sports side, which, by the way, really goes well with the education system anyway, regardless of what part of the world you're in, because it keeps the kids engaged, it keeps them motivated, it keeps them disciplined, they persevere through a lot of the things that they have to go through. And also we need stadiums. I mean, we only have one stadium in Eldoret that you go to a high school in the United States. My high school over here has a better track than we do over there. So we have a talent that most Kenyans love and would love to be part of it. And then just really implementing technology. I heard somebody earlier talk about testing and things like that. I think Kenya, if we were able to do M-Pesa 20 years ago, we can absolutely use technology to solve some of the basic issues that allows us to be efficient in doing the work. Teachers will need to be trained, and I don't need to repeat that because a lot of the people have covered that. So anyway, thank you again. And I'm coming off practice, so it's dinner time. And like Okla said, it starts with the home when it comes to kids' education. Because like for us, we really kind of done similar to what she's done because the US education is substandard. There's no question about that. So you guys take care and thank you again.
Thank you so much, all the way from Vegas. Okay, let's go to Joshua. So we have Joshua, we have Julie, Cecilia, Dr. Choti, and Professor Otiso in that order.
All right, thank you.
What's the clock? What's the clock, Joshua?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mine is a recommendation, and my name is Joshua. I'm an instructor or adjunct professor at Lake Michigan College. Sorry. So mine is a recommendation, and this is observation. For a long time, I've been trying to see what is the difference between the education in Kenya and education in America. And recently, I saw something that I was like, "Ooh, this is now the big difference." And this is what I would recommend. Here at Lake Michigan, I would say they have a career day, which is different from anything I ever imagined a career day would be. So during the event, they call it, for instance, the school is called Lake Michigan LMC, so they call it LMC Day. And on this LMC Day, they invite as many companies that are around, and even far and near, I would say. They invite all these companies to come and share what they're doing. So they have a table for every company that registers to come. Then all the students from around the area come and see what the companies are doing. So that way the students can get an idea and see like, oh, I can actually work in this company. I like what this company is doing. I like the solutions that this company are offering. And I want to go and study and focus myself to work in this company or do something related to this, or maybe develop an entrepreneurship that is related to this. So that way we don't have the mentality we kind of have that, for instance, my parents said you can either be a teacher or be a doctor. So if we had that opportunity, can you imagine if we have a career day of that case, let's say in a school in Lesotho, and we have like 400 companies that just come to that one school. We have Google coming, we have Ogla coming and presenting what they're doing. We have Syngenta coming and saying that this is what we do. If you join our company, this is what you can offer. We have these companies that offer solutions on plumbing, and they don't have enough workers. They come and say to the students, if you are interested, we'll pay for your school fees and everything. And once you complete, we can fund you actually had from the meeting I had, I met somebody who was like, we are offering anyone who's going to join our company, we pay for them school fees and everything. Even if they're coming from outside America, we pay for everything if they're willing to commit to study and come and work in our company. So I would highly recommend that if possible, let's introduce such events. The way we have sports day, we have drama day, music day, and all that. I would highly recommend that to bridge the gap between unemployment. In that case, we are actually finding a solution to whereby students can know from the early age, they know this is where I'm going. They can find some passion. When they see that this company is solving this, then they're like, aha, I can join that. If they find that there's a problem in the community and not even one company is solving that, then they're like, I need to focus my energy and effort to build something that solves this problem in this community. Let me end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for the great work that you're doing with bringing nurses from Kenya. Let's have Julie, and then Cecilia, Dr. Choti, Dr. Tisa, and Dr. Shure. Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Jerono. And I want to take this opportunity to also congratulate you for your nomination and giving us this opportunity to also share our views on education matters. So my name is Julie. I'm based in Seattle, Washington. I'm a graduate student at the University of Washington, and I am so passionate about education. I'm a law student, so I was an advocate in Kenya before moving to the US. So anyway, on the point that you're discussing this evening, I would like to tie up some of the points that some members have talked about. And one among them is the issue of mentorship. The person who's just spoken before me a few minutes ago kind of has talked about what I had in mind, and that is in regards to mentorship, especially for students who are in high school, linked up to jobs, careers, and companies that deal with things that they would be interested in dealing in, or places that they would be interested in working at, is a very good initiative that Kenya education system can also adopt. The other thing that I had in mind and I wanted to talk about is on the issue of teacher training, because I remember as a student back at home, some of the career choices or trajectory that we ended up taking was mainly because of the attitude of the teachers. So I would talk about the issue of having teachers who are also motivated in helping the kids, because some teachers are very discouraging. Some of the career choices that we would have loved to pursue, like I would have personally loved to do things with chemical engineering and stuff like that. But my chemistry teacher was so terrible. So at the end of the day, you find that you have very few choices in the line of work that you would want to pursue. So I think there should be some deliberations also with the teachers and some assessment or some, like what the US does. Like in my school currently, we have a report that we submit anonymously about the professors who are teaching us. So those professors, if the report is very bad, then they are summoned by the administration to tell the administrators why the reports are so bad, or some of the things that students have shared, concerns and all that, they're taken into consideration and people act upon them. So I think that aspect is lacking in Kenya, and we would really appreciate if the teachers are also held accountable. I would also want to address the issue that Okla, sorry if I mispronounce your name, talked about, the issue of families motivating their kids. I would say that's a good thing, but I would also tend to counter that and say some of the families are very poor. We should not have a discussion in the abstract, negating the reality on the ground, because some of the families back at home are not even well exposed to any form of education. So having to play, or rather placing the burden on somebody who's maybe somewhere in, and sorry if anyone hails from there, like Turkana, to kind of motivate their kids, they don't have any exposure whatsoever. So my approach, or the recommendation that I would have for you and the committee is to have the teachers who are obligated, who have gone through the school system or training in whatever capacity, held accountable so that with the results that you're seeing being sent to the job market or being the results that we are seeing in the society being accounted. Sorry, I've lost track of what I wanted to say, but yeah, all I'm saying is that the trainers should be held accountable as well. Thank you. I'm trying to keep time. I can see the clock ticking.
You did great. You did great. Okay, next is, thank you so much. Julie, take time to review. We have a question on legal and governance issues. That would be great if we can get your input, especially now that you're in the legal field. So take a minute and review that question and give us some input. Yes, Cecilia.
Okay, the other thing before Cecilia talks is the issue you mentioned about the WhatsApp group. I'm not in that WhatsApp group, so if you don't mind, you can share the link and some of us in the WhatsApp group can join. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do that. Yes, Cecilia.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this. I can see the doctors, you know, professors and the staff. I'm neither of those. And I was not very good in education, actually. I'm those people who mnashikilia kule kwa mkia, but thank God we are still here. And so for me, I'm coming from the point of my experience in Kenya for education. It's fortunate most of us have traveled here, came to school in America and all those things. But there's some of us who, you know, family members, there's nobody who would even be able to pay for our school fees or even to come abroad and study. And one thing that helped me first to get education was the sponsors from America. We had sponsors, then education was being paid for. And it's that family that sponsored us that we were able even to get education. One thing I noticed abroad here is education is very important. If you're at the age of going to school and you're not in school, your parents can even be taken to the police. But in Kenya, they don't care. Nobody cares if a kid of 2 years, 3 years, 10 years is in the street. Nobody cares. Why can't we put a rule that every child who is at the age of going to school should be in school? If anybody sees a kid out of school at the school time or school hour and it's not a holiday, then every parent should be accountable to report their parents or guardian to the police. So that now we take the education very seriously. We start from there because we need them in school. Secondly, can the government find a way of providing the uniform in schools? Why am I saying this? Growing up, my mom could not afford a uniform. And if she did, my school uniform was torn. And when it's torn, you lose self-confidence. And when you don't have self-confidence, even staying in the class, you cannot answer questions, you cannot participate. So you can't even understand what the teacher is teaching because you feel low self-esteem because some kids have nice uniform and shoes, you know? So if they could provide something like that, our government, it would be okay because they can get them in wholesale. You come to school, you have uniform provided for, you have shoes provided for. So all of you are uniform. That's why it's called uniform. But when you send children who live from high class, low class, middle class, like in Kibera, they can't afford these things. So these kids don't want to go to school. Another thing was food. I'm sorry to bring this because we were very poor. My mom could not afford 2 meals a day. I remember I would eat my dinner and I have to come to school hungry until the other day. So I remember one time there was kiangazi, and there was this yellow maize was being given around and they would cook it for us in school. I looked forward for that meal, even to go to school. I was excited to go to school. Na maziwa ya Nyayo, which is no longer there anymore. Those are things that, you know, you have to have a reason to want to go to school. And then another thing, we should have a counselor in school. In America system, when a child has a problem, they have their own counselor that they can go to, talk to them, a very friendly person. But growing up, we have these teachers who just communicate with you according to your grades. If you're not a smart kid, most teachers don't like you. So you fail from there. When you have issues at home, we come to school, nobody cares. And my phone died. Sorry, guys.
Okay, I found that. So we'll move on to Dr. Choti and then Professor Tiso and Dr. Shuri, and then I'll call the next group. So I will reset the clock. Just watch that. Yep. We can always come back if everybody gets a chance. We can always come back and speak more. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jerono, for this opportunity, and congratulations for representing us well in this platform to review the education system. I'm Dr. Trofena Choti. I'm based in Maryland, and I have a background in education. Actually, I was a high school teacher in Kenya for almost 9 years before I relocated to the US. And my master's and PhD are both in education. And I've been working in the education arena because I believe education is very dear to me. And I have been supporting USAID development programs in education in Africa, working with different ministries of education. And so I will give a few contributions. I think most things have been covered. I want to give my contribution based on my experience as somebody who has gone through the education system in Kenya and also worked in Kenya and looking at the global scale of education where we are and what might work for our situation in Kenya. One thing that I want to underscore is that education in Kenya is very exam oriented. And so it doesn't give children time to be children. And so as soon as the kids, learn to speak, parents are already drilling them for the exam. And I think that is something that you need to really help remove that exam focus so that children can be children. And that's why we have examples of somebody, finishing a degree like we saw in the social media, and they want to ban their certificates because they can't find a job, because it was about passing exam, you get the degree, but you don't know where to take. The system should be a well-rounded one that really enables you to think outside the box. How can I even be somebody who can be an innovator of something so that I can contribute to society? It doesn't to be for white-collar job. So I think that one area we need, if I can start from the lowest and first comment on the CPC, I believe, and I know most of the people contributed to CPC, but it has its own good side and bad side. My brother is a teacher and they sent me videos of him teaching kids to swim on sand. What's the reality? Teaching kids to swim on sand. If we don't have swimming pools, why teach kids to swim when they're doing in sand? It doesn't relate. So we need to bring education that relates to our social problems so that we can get solutions to our social problems, because the kids need to relate. If they don't have winter, why teach them about winter? Why teach them about snow? Let's teach them about climate change that is happening. Let's teach them about floods so that they can get some education to solve the problems that they face. And also, what I need to comment is that for education to succeed, resources are needed. And currently, resources are not equitable in the education system. I know of the school that I went to, we still don't have electricity. And the teachers are supposed to do the practicals, upload them in a computer, which this school doesn't have, or electricity. And then these are compiled for, the end year or the end of grade 6. So I still know a lot of schools where I come from, rural Kisii, that don't have electricity. So how are these kids going to be assessed for their end of primary school exam if they don't have? So we need to think of a system of education that really fits every child and gives a fair competition for all the kids, because we don't want to disadvantage the rural kids and where the majority of them come from. Secondly, the CPC system puts really a big chunk of responsibility of education to the parent. But how many parents in Kenya are educated? My mother is not. I went through the education system. She wasn't even updated to what I was doing. We have parents who don't know, so their children are left behind. Let's think about how we could do that, and so that the homework is not entirely on a child getting support from the parent, but if the parent is not educated, how do we solve that, that issue? The other thing that I know of education is about the environment. It's about the teachers. The two issues are critical. And one other thing I think says who contributed that I can say, I'm a champion of school meals. Kids need to eat to be able to learn. If they don't eat, they can't learn. Can we bring back school lunches for every school so that every child has a right to a school lunch or a breakfast, depending on where they're coming from? Maybe that's the only meal for some children. So I have done work in so many African countries, Liberia, Cameroon, Ghana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, supporting school meals. And I think it's possible for us to empower our farmers to produce food that can be sold to the schools in their neighborhood. They make money and the kids learn in school. So I just want to also point out that the diaspora also, we have a role to play in this in terms of giving back. Let's support the children who are coming from very poor families so that they can get a chance to move ahead. And I think perhaps, Professor Jerono, what I would think, if we could all the diaspora come together and even build even a model school somewhere, a replica of Stare that takes kids in who do not have parents, because we have a lot of kids with no parents right now. We take them in, they get free education. They can also contribute to society. So I think those are some of the issues that I can contribute. And of course, I will send my other written ones that I'm not able to cover. But I'm so happy that, the president has seen the need to hold such a forum where, Professor, you are serving in, so that we can contribute our points to make the system more stronger and better. Thank you.
So much. Please don't forget to submit. Professor Otiso, the clock is running. 5 minutes is up. It starts 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah, you can put up the clock so I can watch it.
It's right on my screen. Can you see it on my, it should be on my screen.
I can see it. I can see it. I also want to congratulate you for the appointment. And I've made some submissions, but I wanted to, since we are talking mostly of university education, reiterate maybe 3 key ones. The first one, as you know, is the proposal you and I have worked on for years, which is the Kenya Diaspora Fellowship Program, that actually can be a skills remittance platform. And that particular program is actually envisioned in the Kenya Diaspora Policy. But I mean, as you know, I've worked on it for 10 years, and for some reason, the government has never implemented it. So maybe this is the time they needed to actually implement it, and so that we can start remitting skills and transforming university education in Kenya. The other one, I think we have too many universities. Unfortunately, we need to consolidate them. They have just become glorified secondary schools. We just need, there are too many, and none, we simply need to consolidate them so that the resources that we are spreading so thin across the system can be used to deepen the few, basically a few effective universities, rather than just creating them all over the place. I know that the Constitution envisages a university per county, but that does not mean we create them in 2, 3, 4 years. We have actually undermined them by not essentially resourcing them the way they are supposed to be resourced, therefore making it impossible for them to function, especially in the research function. The third point I wanted to make is the need for a serious need to build a national innovation infrastructure, because part of the challenge we have right now is we are producing graduates that are not connected to the production needs of the economy. But more importantly, that economy, by the way, is fairly small. We are still producing mostly theoreticians when the economy actually needs something different. We are not an innovative country. I think that needs to be said directly. We are importing things we should be making. Therefore, we don't have an infrastructure that allows us to keep improving even wheelbarrows. In fact, I was in Kenya recently working with an electrician who was doing some welding for me. I asked him, since he has been welding for 30 years, what has he actually innovated? And he really didn't have anything he has innovated. And that is actually one of the major differences between how we do things and what other countries do, that they are always continuously improving and creating products. We talk about creating a system of taking innovations from the lab to let's say products, but in fact, that is one of our weakest links. So the truth is that economy is very small. As you know, Prof, there are some universities here in the US that actually one university that has a bigger economy than Kenya, and that is not really something that we should be proud of. Connected to that is the fact that because that economy is small, we no longer are actually able to support families to actually raise kids. I've heard of a lot of suggestions about raising strong families. But remember, traditional society had ways for both men and women to contribute to the welfare of the family. Nowadays, in an agricultural economy, most societies in Kenya don't even have land. Men in particular have been displaced. Very few of them have anything to use to be productive. So that environment is not going to raise good children and responsible children as much as we can talk about it all we want. But what is really speaking to is a need for serious economic reform, especially in the area of land. And we know we have had like 6, 7 land reports, none of which have ever been implemented, which tells you basically we're not serious when it comes to reforming the economy in a manner that actually the economy can be productive. We like to talk about Asian countries, but we forget that almost every Asian country has done serious land reform, which really we have not done. And therefore, we have not created the foundations that actually will allow our country to give our people what they need to actually be productive and therefore be able to be responsible family members, especially men in particular. And of course, it involves women, but I just wanted to highlight the issue of men and the fact that anywhere you go nowadays in the country, you see many of them being drunk and not really being able to produce because we have emasculated them and deprived them of what they need to be productive. So I'll find a way of adding some of these points maybe online, and I'm going to stop here. Thank you.
Judy? Thank you, Prof. Okay, Dr. Shuri. Yeah. Yep, it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Jerono, for giving me this chance of contributing to this worthy platform on education reforms. And again, congratulations for you being nominated in that, representing our diaspora. That was very, very great and important move for us here, because you are one person that everybody knows represents the education sector very, very well. So my name again is Robert Churi, and I represent the Global Diaspora One Voice Consortium, an organization that brings together well over 120 other organizations that are in various sectors, including education. My background is mostly in global strategic business management at a global scale, and also entrepreneurship. And I think this subject of education reforms is important for us. As you all know, especially for the diaspora, we are very well known about remittances of money back to Kenya. But Professor Otiso has hinted about remittances of educational skills back to Kenya. That's very, very critical for us. We are talking about a structured method of using our diaspora professionals back home, and especially those who would want to go back home. That would be a critical mass that could be able to help in ways that are even not yet imagined. Because if we structure that going back in a very good way, it may even encourage others to see this as an avenue where once they come into the diaspora, they can go back home and be of meaningful use in various areas, not just in education, but even in the private sector and so forth. The other area that I'm also looking at is that we need again to really reform our education system, because it looks like it's not so much geared towards the needs of our private sector. We are producing people that the private sector is not really needing, and thereby creating even other issues of not being able to help the private sector in terms of innovation and in terms of really producing products that end up being consumer required. So again, that kind of gap is there. The education should be able to be meeting the needs of the private sector. And also our education system should be focused to what our country has more abundance in. We are an agricultural country, and we need to start making agriculture cool to our young people. It needs to be a cool enterprise. It needs to be a cool profession. It needs to be handled in such a way that people can see that it is actually a lifelong career, not just a hobby, not just something that can be done once in a while, but something that can be done in a lifelong as a career for somebody to become a farmer and an enterprise that can be able to bring a value to our country. So we need to really kind of change that mindset so that it can be able to help us much, much more. The other avenue that we need also to work on is trying to see how we can use diaspora resources in seeing how we can be able to match our young people in terms of creating small micro SMEs. So what am I saying here? I'm saying if we can be able to have a system where a diaspora capital and our youth innovation capital is matched together 50-50, and so that they can be able to generate new enterprises through a diaspora and young people together. So again, a kind of a structured program where an enterprising young person can be supported by somebody in the diaspora who can invest into their business, and they can be able to have a matchmaking in terms of business. The other area that I also want to dwell on is about continuing education. A lot of people, and I know this is something that has been discussed before, a lot of people look at education in a terminal way, ending at the university level. We need to have a continuing education program that is actually tiered towards our taxation, so that if you continue improving and continue improving your education, you can be able to claim that in your taxes. It can be part of your tax relief. It can be part of tax rebates that whoever is improving their educational status can be able to claim that within their taxes at certain points, as a way of encouraging more people to continue doing, to being more creative, to being more innovative, so that way it is tied towards a taxation system whereby you can be able to get more reliefs, more tax rebates as you continue to educate yourself or even educate your family and so forth. Again, this is something that can be structured very, very well. I wanted to pause there knowing, Prof, you have so many suggestions, and this was just something to help kind of tie things together as we move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we have Kilondu, Professor Ngugi, Ogeto, Dennis Ocheng, Joseph, and Sebastian. Oh, there's Susan. Okay, we'll get, okay. So in that order. Watch the clock, please, so we can keep time, okay? Okay, Kilondu, there you go.
Asante, Professor. I don't even know what to say after all these eloquent speakers who have just spoken before me. But firstly, I want to congratulate you for your appointment. And I've taken a screenshot of this particular screen here in front of me because I want to send it to your chair, who happens to be my big cousin, and let him know that at least I contributed into something that he's actually doing.
Good.
I'm only going to speak very briefly from the perspective of a parent in the home that has children who are going to school. Because I've been one, I have 4 children, and beyond the 4 children, I've also been a philanthropist, where I have been able to sponsor and educate close to 300 children, Kenyan children, in Kenyan schools over the past 15 years. Some of them are still at the university system in Kenya. And I do this because I know what it is when I look at my children here in America, for example, who have done very well. I've got twin boys. One of them is a medical doctor at Emory University. I've got another son who's an engineer, but he's a pilot in the Marines. I've got a daughter who's a banker also, and I've got a son who's also finishing college this year. So they could not have done what they've done had I not gotten into their system from the day they were born. I think parental involvement is critical from the start to the finish. I don't know what the finish is because some of them are already plus 30, but I'm still, taking care of them in the best way a father knows how to. But that part of making sure that at least you're part of what these kids are doing on a daily basis and being a part of their contributions wherever they're, even when they go to college, really helps a lot. And also looking out to see whoever else out there who needs help. Somebody talked about assisting from the diaspora perspective, Kenyan kids who need assistances out there. And we have done it. But again, how much can you do when you have the whole country that has those needs? So I just want to congratulate you and think you're doing a very good job on behalf of all of us. And I'm not going to take any minute longer. All the best and thank you, team. Thank you.
Thank you for yielding your minutes. We have Professor Ngugi, Ogeto, Wanchiri, Ocheng, Joseph, and Onyango. I'm putting you last on purpose because you've already spoken. So let me give those who have not spoken before. Okay.
And my hand is up, Prof.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I see the ladies.
See, yeah.
I see there were 2 ladies. Yes, after that, okay. I'm just writing as they come through. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Prof. Jerono, for the opportunity, and we in the diaspora appreciate the fact that the government has seen it worth it to include us in this discussion. So when you talk to them, tell them we really appreciate it, and thank you for spearheading this. So
they will be listening. I'm going to send the whole thing to them, so they'll
make
be
sure they
hearing
listen and let them know that we want this to be the first, but not the last.
Amen.
Okay. My comments are going to be broadly, thinking about the system. And my first reaction to CBC would be, at face value, it seems like a wonderful system, particularly the competency part and inculcating the soft skills and all those, and giving students and pupils individualized attention. But it seems to me that the system has not been thought through well enough so that it can be adapted into the Kenyan situation, that it has been adopted without adaptation. And so my first reaction would be, where has it worked in a low-income and middle-income country in the world? What lessons can we learn from where it has worked? What changes can we do? And I would strongly suggest that the country needs to adopt, but then adapt. And in my opinion, I would even go as far as saying we are not really ready for this, that we should probably take time, take 2 years out. So I'm going to say something outrageous to your committee. Let's back off let's collect all this information we are collecting. Let's adapt the 844 system and see what we can do. And now create something that we are all prepared for. I am a member of a board of management of a primary school in Kenya. And we have one teacher who gets continuous training on and off towards CBC. We have only one teacher in one primary school. So the rest have not been trained. They have no idea what they are doing. They are being taught by this one teacher, and they're moving along trying to find things and to figure things out. It's total chaos, you know, from a board member in Kenya. And so the schools have no electricity, like someone said. The resources are not there. The teachers have not been trained. That's a fact. So let's not rush to make mistakes simply because we want a system that has worked elsewhere. My second thing is, what is wrong with 844? And if something is wrong with 844, because I think there are certain things that are wonderful in this competency-based system, can we adopt, can we plug them into 844? Can we work with the 844 so that we don't change the number of years a kid has to be in elementary school? We take the same years, high school, college, and put these things inside so that we don't have an overhaul that is very expensive. By the way, I'm a professor of economics at a university in North Dakota. So my thing is economics. Kenya is having a huge tax, you know, a very low tax base, high debt. Do we have what it takes to provide the resources that the system needs? My bet is no. Have we trained the teachers? No. So why rush? Why not take what we have and work the changes we want through it to make it work for us, okay? So for me, I would pause, but I would also work with what we have at the moment, at least for now, until we have the resources and the preparation to do what we need to do. Is there a rationale for taking grade 6 kids to high school, or are we simply borrowing the American elementary, middle school, high school, and we borrow it for wholesale? So let's do that. In my mind, there is no major rationale for taking a grade 6 kid, especially to a boarding high school. It just doesn't make any sense. I think we are pushing these kids to mature before their time, and we are exposing them in a faraway county, away from their home, to things that they should not be exposed to at that age. So I would pause there and say, you know, let's rethink it. The other thing that I would say has to do with the system. What should be our objectives? I think we should train a Kenyan global citizen. That means embedding the African culture, the wonderful things that we have in our culture, but also training them to live and work anywhere in the world. I think we should align our system to what happens in other countries so that our students and our people can translate to other countries. People talked about jobs. We shouldn't simply train for the Kenyan market. We don't have enough jobs. We are not going to create them in the next few years. Let's train someone whose degrees, whose grades, whose GPA, for example, use a GPA system that can be transferred elsewhere, you know, very easily. As for the system, I said we are not prepared. How can we finance it? You know, I come from the University of Georgia. That's my alma mater. And in Georgia, they have something called the Hope Scholarship. And the Hope Scholarship simply uses a lottery. So we freeze all these small lotteries that are commercialized in Kenya. We create one huge lottery, and we use that to fund education. We can make a lot of money from that. I have a lot of other things to say. I'm going to put them in the system, and I'm going to email them. But those are some of my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And let's see, let's move on to who's next. Really enjoying taking notes. And Ogeto, Onchiri, Dennis, Wanja. I saw another lady. Oh, okay, they keep coming. Okay, let's do this first. I've seen them. Okay.
I'm Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Good to see you, Prof. It's been a minute. I saw you before COVID, and I'm seeing you after COVID, very radiant. So congratulations.
You know, now I'm so close to you. I mean, I'm your neighbor.
Don't say you're in Nyamira, are you?
No, I'm in Bloomington.
Okay, that's closer. That's close enough.
That's closer enough.
I'll welcome you to Chicago anytime.
Okay.
Again, Simon Ogeto is my name. Congratulations, Prof, for representation of this very important constituent that is very, very significant in Kenya's affairs. I've been in the United States now for 27 years, longer than my entire life in Kenya. And one of the most cherished aspects of my residence in this country is actually being a parent, a journey I began about almost 15 years ago. And this is where I'm going to present my views as a parent more than anything. I think an education system is as good as its parents, that is, those who support the education system. If the parents are not in the equation, that system is going to fail. Why? They are the biggest custodians in so many ways. This CPC system should have been presented at local school councils, equivalent, parent PTAs back home, sold, so that they could endorse. They could have a kind of what nowadays is actually, taking traction in Kenya, where before something is implemented, is subjected for public opinion. So then, there was kind of like buy-in. So then that way it can be supported. Unfortunately, Kenya did not provide that opportunity to our constituents, both, the academic circles, the parents, and every entity that has a stake in education system, so that it could be fully supported to actually take phase. So for that reason, I think they need to rethink, work with what they have worked with over the last, I believe, over almost 30 years, since 1984, when 844 came in the system, and then work on this CBC so that it's well refined, however great it is, for it to succeed. It may have succeeded in other countries, but you can't come and shovel down people's throats and think it's gonna work magic. So that is something that is very, very important for the new administration to take into account, because unfortunately, Kenya, like so many countries in this world, find themselves competing with America, competing with Asia, and we don't have time to actually even learn how to walk. We have to be born and then start dashing. Now, how do we go about this? A quick crash course could be for this government to actually create a formal avenue where the diaspora can participate back home more directly from all levels, the primary, secondary, high school, and university. I'll give you an example. I had my son with me in Kenya this past summer. We went to Pangani. The school was still in session, and I requested if my son could get an opportunity to sit in a typical Kenyan class, while he could also participate in other things that were happening. Well, the principal looked at me and said, "What did you say?" I said, my son is here for 8 weeks. I want him to spend a week, more like shadowing. He told me, "Okay, that's unusual. We don't know how to go about that. And I'll look into it." So for 8 weeks, I never got a call back. And I understand why. He couldn't find a way of incorporating a Kenyan American or a Kenyan in the diaspora into the education system, because that provision is not there. The same problem we incur with us as the diaspora. We go home. I know Professor Tiso had an opportunity to speak in different schools on a given time he was in Kenya, but that happened because they knew him. But just imagine, you go home, you're there for 2-3 weeks, but there's no avenue you can be able to translate to your experience, your skills, to any environment you're in. So for that reason, that opportunity of transferring knowledge is cut off. Why? We just don't have a framework. That's something that needs to be taken into account. Finally, a lot of you have talked about very, very great things. Some policies which I've never seen they've never seen light on day in any given way to be given an opportunity to shine. We as Kenyans in the diaspora were born in Kenya, educated, graduated, and worked in Kenya. Unfortunately, the moment you get that flight, you become a stranger. You go back and they say, "Oh, this is an American." They kind of push you away. Yet, The reason they actually sent you abroad was specifically to come over and be able to learn so much, so you can be able to give back. So that is something which we need to work very, very closely with all entities so that we can harmonize it and be seen as a bigger family, working together to solve the country's big problems. So this is not a one-time opportunity. I wish that we will continue having this conversation beyond this given task that you have, so that we can actually be able to create another framework. The ambassador just had an event. You realize how chaotic it was. And I was wondering, wait a minute, these people have been around here. We're still around, yet because the president is coming in what, a month? We suddenly seem like we cannot even manage each other. Why should we have to wait for a Kenyan president to come to the United States for us to actually engage the way we're engaging like that? So there's a lot we owe our people. There's a lot we owe each other. So my hope is that, Prof, even after this task is done, we can continue talking so that any opportunity available that can help advance Kenya and our people can be put into place. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. You see, we even have a PS for Diaspora who will actually be joining us on the 25th. So do not forget, you will have the entire team from the task force, from the education, from the ministry. So this is the voice we're saying, yeah, we are not strangers. You just don't want our money. We have skills that we can remit. So I appreciate you coming. Let's keep engaged. Let's fill those forms. We really wanted to show that we can do this. We don't have to be in Kenya to go to that school to give our views. We can do it right here with technology. So thank you again. We have Anchiri, Dennis Ocheng, Joseph, and then my wonderful ladies. We have Wangoi. Wangoi, you know why I can't see your hand? It's because of your background.
Yes, it's a Kenyan market.
Yeah, it's the same as this, so I couldn't see that. Now I have to look through and then Susan. Okay, let's go.
It's my time, right?
Your time, and then Dennis, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Jerono, for giving me this chance. And thank you for hosting us. And this is a great chance for us to share. And my name is Philip. I reside in Minnesota. I was a teacher a while back for a very short time before I moved to the United States. And then currently I work in human resources. So I'm way out of the education system. I have a couple of points I want to mention. One, we all know that foundation is very important in everything that we do. And our education system, we also need to have that important foundation. Some of us, we grew up from the villages. I know majority of us grew up in the villages, going to school and all that. And you know, when you are a child, you don't see the value of doing some of the things, but as you grow up, you realize that some of the things that you did when you were a child has made a difference in your life, or has laid a good foundation in your life. One thing I would like to suggest is to include language. Language, our mother tongue language, it's very important. I believe in that. In the sense that one thing is that when I went to school, I never actually studied Swahili. I studied Swahili. Some people might think, why did that happen? It wasn't a choice, and I loved Swahili so much. And I happened to go to a school whereby there was no teacher who could teach Swahili. And then I decided to take it as an independence class. You can imagine many years back doing an independence class as a 15, 16, 17-year-old child, and you're just studying this class by yourself because there's no teacher. And yet it's the language. I wanted to be a broadcaster, and all of a sudden I cannot be broadcasting since I wanted to broadcast in Swahili. Now, because of that, I feel like we are trying to run away from teaching our children the mother tongue, which they can communicate. One reason I feel that is important is that's how we can be able to connect with the parents. A majority of the Kenyan population is illiterate or semi-illiterate. So if we engage the parents, especially let's say the parents who do not have the formal education, and then we have this, let's say standard 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're engaged in learning their mother tongue, they can be given homework to bring home, and they can engage the parents to do something like that, maybe some kind of research in their mother tongue or something like our medicine, stuff like that. We will be able to connect the parent and the teachers and the students so that they are not left out. Now, I remember growing up, just going home when I come up with the exam, like the final term, and I'm bringing exams home, my mother would look at my report card or maybe my test that I've done. She can only see the ticks that she knows that, oh, you passed. When she sees that X, she knows, like, she can say, my son, I don't think you did well with this one. That's all she needs. But with us involving them, teaching us the local language and the teachers, it's gonna connect the teachers, the students, all as the community in general. Now, recently I was reading an article whereby it was circulating around, like, this 126-year-old lady lives in somewhere in Kenya because they were taking all this local medicine to cleanse their system and all that. And towards the end, I realized somebody is trying to market some medicine from Germany. And then I was asking myself, if this lady knew all about this, who did she teach? Apparently this was a marketing scheme. But then when you think about it, we do have these people in the community. We can be able to teach our young children some of the basics. I think somebody from Britain, I think his name was Sebastian, must have mentioned something, some kind of disease somewhere that they were trading in Lowland when it came during a certain season, if I remember correctly. Some of those things, we can integrate those in our community, in our schools, especially in primary school as a foundation. Now, the next thing I want to mention is about teachers. We need to have teachers to be held accountable. We're having so much issues, especially in schools, whereby we have young girls are being molested by teachers, and whereby when we send students to the teachers, they are custodians of our children, especially during the time they are in school. Whether they are in day school or they are in boarding school, they are custodians. So the Ministry of Education and the government itself has to have mandatory training to sensitize these teachers on how to handle themselves around children, especially girls, and that is why we want to have those teachers be accountable. We don't want to have somebody that has been molesting children, and yet they are not being held accountable to. That's something the Ministry of Education and the government itself has to be very, 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 very strong about. It has to be very strict on that. Now, I know my time is running out. Another thing, the last point, our children are going to school too early, which I think it does not serve them. The children need to go through the process of being children. You find like somebody who is like a child who's like maybe 4 years old is already standard 1. My daughter came to this country when she was going to be 7. She had already finished the standard 1. When she came over here, then she was pushed back. Then she started going. Now she's 25, 26 right now. But she felt bad that she was pushed back to standard 1. Obviously, she had no choices because it was a different country. But I feel like we are rushing our children so fast, especially from the time they are born until the time they start school, that we are putting them to do homework, that they need to pass this exam at a very, very young age. We need them to behave as children from the time from first age to like 6 age, they can only get to standard 1 when they are at least 6 years old, not before that. Everything else they should be playing in the mud and doing other things and not feel so responsible that they have to pass an exam at that very early age. Thank you so much. I know my time is up. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you. You remind me of a kid. I don't want to say the names, but I asked him, what did you do in school? Like I said, nilienda, nikakula, nikalala, na kususu. So they did at school. And the parent is like, I'm paying all this money for you to just go and do things that you can do here. So Daktari, karibu.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Professor Jerono. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share, and I'm glad that we are able to make our contributions. My background is I'm a priest as well as an IO psychologist, and I'm a consultant. I'm right here in North Carolina and in Charlotte specifically. So I have a few contributions that I need to make, and some of them might just be a repetition of some of the things that has been spoken of. My first question would be kind of, can we redefine what is the purpose of our education system in Kenya? What does that really mean to a common person? If you were brought up from a family that they never went to school, what is that really purpose for education? Because we are churning out graduates who actually still don't even understand why they were in school in the first place and what was the purpose and what was the results. And going back to what Professor Ngugi spoke about earlier as well, what are the gains that we made out of the 763 and 844 that now warrants us to change to the CBC? What are some of the shortcomings that we saw there? What could we be able to do? Are we truly prepared for this new change? Absolutely, like Professor Ngugi said, I'm also absolutely saying no, we are not prepared. Because one, we are having a people that don't even understand what this education system is all about. I was even concerned about the team that you have going around the country asking questions. So you are asking questions to somebody who doesn't even understand the purpose, where you're going and where you're starting. And therefore, we are having people who are struggling. The teachers are struggling, like somebody has said. The teachers trained even to handle what they're doing right now. We do not even have that manpower. Though we have so many teachers, but yet there is much overload. Are the parents prepared to be able to take care of these kids in the CBC system where they have to come back to the parents to support them to actually do what they are supposed to do? The other thing that I want to speak about is the research and development. There is need of the investment in research and development to solve our problems. We do not need to be copycats. Why are we taking systems from other people? We do not know their story. I would tell you from a consultancy point of view, when you talk about benchmarking, you are benchmarking with somebody who already passed that age long before. Why don't you be able to be the starter? Why do you want to benchmark with somebody that already, they were past that age? That is why they have a report saying we did this, we did this. Where are they right now? They are way ahead somewhere. So can we be able to make our own? Can we be original instead of copycats to solve our actual problems within our country? The job market, we are bringing graduates that are not able even to go to the job market. And before my time runs out, probably the emphasization of certain courses against other courses. For example, we have courses that has been emphasized against other courses. Farming is not an important career for anybody because all of us want to go to the city. If you come from the area where I come from, all of us want to go to the city. So who really makes the money? We still want to eat in the city. Yet agriculture is not the main thing. Somebody says, oh, that is too much load on kids. That is too much. But to what somebody said, some of these things that we did, we had to wake up early, go to the shamba, come back is when you go to school. It prepared us for something. But here we are now trying to say that, you know, the pamper kids, we got to pamper and we got to do this. What are we doing? Are we actually going ahead or are we going behind? let's be able to make a balance in terms of what courses we are offering, what careers are there, how can we solve our actual problems on our own, not doing a copycat of what other researchers have done somewhere else and just importing them without domesticating for our own good. Thank you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, and we'll get back to you. The rest of for those who are speaking, we're trying to wind up. No one has really touched anything on TVET, so if you have some expertise in that, please go ahead and touch. So we have Joseph, Kay, Kabuka, Wangoi, Susan, Brenda, Sebastian, and then Pastor Ocheng, you'll come back and close for us with a word of prayer.
Professor, I want to sleep because now it's about 4 in the morning and I'm going to school in the morning. Can I just
where are you?
I'm in the UK.
Oh, Paul, okay, go ahead then. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about disrupting you.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Prof, maybe you can take a picture before he leaves.
Okay, can we all take a group picture? If those who can open their cameras. Danson is gonna do that. If you can open your camera, that would be awesome. So we can, yep. Let's take a group picture. Danson, can you do that?
Yeah.
Dr. Bolali, umelala? Simon ujalala? Shuri ujalala?
So you can share the picture somewhere.
Kama ujalala, fungua kamera tuchukue picha, group photo, yeah. Okay.
All right. I think we are good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we shared it. Okay, good. All right, Sebastian and Delea, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I am sorry to apologize that I already spoke and I just wanted to steal this chance to say 1 or 2 things.
Okay.
Now, I think I want to pose one question to the committee dealing with this presidential commission. Sure. The question that Kenyans must address and this committee must address is the following. In terms of training people, you are training graduates who can provide either service, develop processes that meet the needs of the people, or products that the people need. 3 things. The question we need to ask is, what kind of training do our children need to be able to develop services or improve services, processes, or innovate products? Everything else secondary, whether you want to call it CBC, 844 system, the 763 system, it doesn't matter. So long as you're not producing graduates that can improve services, processes in industrial manufacturing, or products that are needed by the people, you're not achieving the goal. Now, I just want to link that to just a small bit about leadership in the university, because I think our university, the way they are configured, they are more academic than actually problem-oriented. Because if you look at societies, normally the purpose of a graduate is a manager or a manager in training. Now, when you come out, you're supposed to be a problem solver or a solution provider. Now, do councils in universities understand that the degrees they offer should generate graduates who can address the problems of their communities? And I want to challenge, when I want to talk about the university education related question where you talk about the governance structure and leadership. And I want to suggest that the committee need to come up with a way where each university council, depending on their locality, must have programs geared towards solving the problem within the locality they are located, and programs that solve national aspirations, because those are 2 different things. National needs are different from local needs. Both of them are important. But in terms of funding, how is government going to promote the solution to local problems? Because that's the key, that's critical, in that when you solve local problems, you are contributing national good. Whereas national programs can be solved by all universities operating certain programs that address national needs, but local problems are specific to each region. So how are we controlling the council to make sure that the programs they're approving are actually meeting local needs, so that the local people feel part and parcel of the university by saying, okay, since the university came, now the problem we used to have with crops is gone, and livestock is gone. We have lost about 2.4 million livestock due to this drought. 50 years after independence, Kenyan's technocrats cannot provide a solution to drought. We still depend on rain-fed agriculture. How is this possible? This is a disgrace. Even people who are talking here, this is a disgrace. I mean, we are letting down our people who have invested in our education to try to solve their problems. But why are universities existing in areas where there's so much problem, they can't even make a toothpick? You have professors who have never invented even a toothpick. what kind of education are we running? Professor Jerono, these are real issues. You need to pause it. Why our professors can't even make a toothpick? They can't make even an earbud. We import from China. How are we actually saying that we are contributing knowledge? Our professors should contribute knowledge. What knowledge are you contributing when you can't even train a student who can make a toothpick? So in the governance, I want us to look at the fact that universities must gear themselves towards solving local and national issues. In the research, we shouldn't base it on what funders from the national community want. It should be research that is funded by our government, addressing local issues that affect our people, whether it is health, whether it's agriculture, whether it's economic development. It should be geared towards that. Now, just looking quickly, I want to move very quickly. Solution 2. Yes, I've talked about process, service, and product development, which should meet the needs of the locals. Then partnership. Now, university legislation should govern such as so that to promote partnerships, exchange programs, interfaculty collaboration, university to university exchange program among the academic and support staff. In Kenya, we have a bad culture. People think that leadership is for eating. We need to change this. People should understand that leadership is about service to the people. When you're given a responsibility, you should serve the people, not eat, not open your stomach and your relatives and every useless Dick and Harry to come and steal from the same people who are sponsored you for your education and who are relying on you to help them solve their problems. So that cultural aspect can come when we encourage more of the interfaculty exchange program so that the academia, the support staff, even within the civil service, you have academic programs. So like we talked about globalizing the education system so that we start producing graduates for the international market so that Kenyans can go out. If you have no jobs in Kenya, let them go out and work outside. Learn new ethics, come back to the country, change the ethics of the people so we can start being a caring nation. In the UK, you know, there's something they talk about that you care for the community. So where you live, your knowledge should change the local community. And you find that people who are successful in the local community are those who are actually solving problems of the locals, not national problem. Because the UK has all kinds of experts, they don't care. But where you live, how are you changing the life of the people who depend on you where you are providing this service? So I want us to look at even the financing model. So why are we using public funds to finance children in private university? Public universities have enough capacity, and if they don't have, we can expand them. Private universities are profit driven. Why can't they tap into the parents who can afford to pay that fee so that they kind of take the burden of the public from financing that kind of program? At the same time, we can look at the issue of optimizing the funding model by looking at how do we capitate the cost. For example, the Higher Education Commission can look at the unit cost for a graduate, and then they can come up with the average so that the funding is actually based on how much it costs to generate a graduate. And that funding must be actually protected. Why? If you have an informed, well-trained, skilled manpower, you can generate more wealth, expand the economy more, create more jobs, get more taxes, then spend more. But if you have an ignorant, illiterate, or unskilled workforce, you're going to be in a quagmire because you've been a vicious circle where there's no expansion because graduates cannot produce wealth, cannot invest, cannot be entrepreneurs, cannot even solve basic problem like lack of fertilizer, particular fertilizer. They can't even make fertilizer from even cow dung, you know. So I want us to look at it so that when you make your report, you are looking at actually what is the role of training, whether it's tertiary, whether it's university, technical colleges. Are they producing electricians who can actually install electricity within buildings, a safe environment, creating water to our people that is safe to drink? Are they supporting our farmers with technical knowledge how to improve on their production? What are we doing? So as a community, and I want us also to talk about the ethical leaning of the appointments. You know, people should not be appointed on the basis of their ethnic background, because the ethnic background of a person doesn't mean their competency. It should be competency based. Is this person competent in the job they are holding? If they are not, kick them out, because they are stopping the nation from roaring into life, from improving, from coming into life and producing more wealth for the community. So I will sum up by saying this. Let us expand the university to produce national graduates that can fit anywhere in any part of the world. Listen, Kenyans are very good. Look at how many you are here. Most of you are professors, you are teaching, you are doing professional jobs outside your country. If our education was bad, why are you doing what you are doing? How comes these people you are working with acknowledge that you are good? Our education system is good. What we don't have is proper political leadership that can harness that expertise and use it to make our communities benefit. This is what we need to address in that your report. Let's talk about the fact that there are Kenyans outside the country who have gone through the same education system they are trying to make look bad, but they are productive where they are. What is different is the environment. Let's talk about the environment for professionals to thrive. How do we provide this as a government, as a people? How do we reward competence? How do we discourage competence? I think I rest my case there. Thank you very much, and guys, good night. I want to go and sleep.
I send you a message. Okay, let's go. Let's see if we can try to keep them, because I've been in meetings since 9 o'clock. I am exhausted. All right, let's go to Joseph and then Wangoi. Where are my other people? Okay, I see Susan. There is Brenda. I see Diana. I see Judy, and then we'll pray. Okay, let's make it quick. Okay. Okay. All right. You're muted. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. I would repeat what my friends have said. They put it very categorical and very nice, but I'll just be able to maybe add on what has not been mentioned. The last presenter has said something which is very important. One, the product. When I look at education in Kenya, I realized that since independence, education was like a key thing. And at the end of the game, I realized that we have so many graduates, but no jobs. Okay, so if somebody's going to invest in education and he knows that my child will not get a job at the end of it, then that education system might not be very meaningful to the people. And for us, Diaspora, to play a role in that, like I've been saying sometimes how people do in Kenya, is that they promise our children something which we call juakali jobs. Okay, I've heard of juakali jobs, that we can set up juakali jobs to absorb the youth in the system of employment. And I said that is really very demeaning. Okay, when I was in education, I was in education as a teacher. I realized one thing. I realized that all students are very good. And I encourage by telling them that there is no stupid student. Everybody is good in one particular area. And this really motivated them, because you might find a child might not be very bright in class, but maybe in scouting, he does very well. So in that case, we make everybody feel appreciated while they are in class, and we leave nobody outside. Because education has brought it in our society to give different levels. So those who strive to get like very high up there, they think that that is the end of the game. So they don't contribute in finding solutions to the problems which we are facing. And that's why when you look at it as a product, you realize that there we have failed, because you have so many educated people, but no solutions to problems which we face. So that's really a big challenge. So education should be like we bring up graduates that can be able to solve problems which we have. And as a diaspora, this is what I was thinking. Instead of providing juakali jobs, because we don't want kids to go to school and they don't have a place to go to be employed. I see in countries which are developed like America, we have something which we call warehousing. Now, that should replace something in Kenya they call juakali jobs. Because I don't intend to take my child after graduate to be given a juakali job to stay on the road the whole day selling 5 bananas and expect that child to be able to live a better life. But if we who are in diaspora can be able to put our effort together and work with the government directly and say, look here, okay, we have 4 million Kenyans outside, and 5,000 of us can be able to put our resources together and build auto assembly plant. Okay, so the kids knows that even when they finish school, they already have an auto assembly plant ready for them to go and work. It makes sense for them to work hard because they know a job is waiting for them. So we should be able to work, as here in diaspora, we should be able to have a deal with the government that we use diaspora resources and abilities to be able to invest to create good, sustainable jobs, but not juakali jobs. And when I say good, I'll go to villages. Every village has agricultural produce. They can do agribusiness, adding value to the product which they have. We just need to ask the government, how many warehouses do they need? And the government needs to do its job, research out how much does it require to build such a factory in this community. And then they come back to us and say, hey, we have this number of warehouses required. Can we be able to invest there? It's better than remittances, okay? Because we will be remitting something that's going to absorb that education, graduates that come out, instead of them coming out and finding nothing they can be able to get, and they end up being outside like the way we are, where we will be programmed in your 8 hours, completely programmed, your sleeping hours, and you don't have anything else for yourself until the time you retire. Then you are given a package to retire and go and die. Because there's nothing you can do in this system. You don't have any time even for yourself. So my contribution here is, strategically, it should be seriously be thought. We must be owners of the factors of production in Kenya. Therefore, we can tap from the people who are here in diaspora, that together, their small savings together, they might be very busy, but if they put their savings together, it can absorb that large education products that we have. So most of the other factors have been said. I didn't want to repeat actually about them, but I just wanted to emphasize, if we are teaching them, where are they going to go? Are we planning that they go outside our country, or we plan that they remain inside the country and build it? And if they remain inside, how are we going to absorb them? Are we going to provide for them Juakali jobs, or we make them work 8 hours, be paid well, build for them better houses, make them live in a better place, and by doing like that, they will feel a satisfied life, and they'll realize that by working hard, they can add value to their own economy. So thank you so much. And for sure, I came in because I also wanted to congratulate you, because in Diaspora County 48, we were asking for one thing. Okay. The government needs to involve diaspora in process of everything back at home. And by seeing you, it's a dream already attained, and much more fruits are going to be manifested. So we want to congratulate them for that step, and we wish that they continue doing more so that we can really contribute in any possible way. Otherwise, I remember when I went back home, it was very surprising that you find a new education system, you don't know when it was done, but look, now we are participating. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go in that order. Wangoi, it's ladies now. So we have Dr. Wangoi, Susan, Brenda. Brenda, I hope you have not given up. Diana, Judy, and then Dr. Atamba said he really missed his point because his phone disconnected. And then we'll close with a word of prayer. With a word of prayer. So in that order. Yes, Dr. It's your turn. Okay, good. Yep.
Yeah, again, Asante, Prof, for being at the table and bringing us with you and carrying out a very sober exercise and very organized. Thank you. And then not just to bring our ideas together, I always appreciate you bringing us together through KESA and through KESID, also for the connection and for the relationships. And on this call, I've reunited with the Waitanjes, and I've also reunited with Dr. Philip Malali, whom I owed some debt, and he has forgiven that. For 36 years, I've been looking for him. There were no phones then. So thank you for that miracle. That being said, I'm sitting on this call from Iowa City, Iowa, and I'm talking as a counselor educator and as a licensed counselor in the state of Iowa, and a high school teacher in Kenya who ran the school counseling program in Maryhill before I came to the US to train as a school counselor. And since 2002, I'm finishing my 20 years here. I have kept up as much as I'm able with our country. Like all of us here, we straddle our host country and our home. And before I go to my very brief Thank you for controlling me. I always have a lot of words coming out of me, Prof. I have 2 minutes. What I'm going to say is I'm piggybacking on what you said, on what is said by others, Kereri, what you said about equity in resources for students, and especially because since 2000, I'm always raising money for helping, leading, not me, it's not my money, but leading people both everywhere in the world, Kenyans, to have students in need go to school. And that is why I love what you started, Dr. Prof. Jerono Kesid, because of, so Kereri talked about equity, that we need to improve that. Then we also have Danson. You talked about tracking funding, which is also connected with that, and tracking mental health. I'll follow you, and you may attend on tracking mental health. And then we also have Joshua. Sir Joshua, you talked about career days. Julie, you talked about mentorship. On Cherry, you talked about mother tongue, and you really pushed that on the chat. And then you also talked about kids being in age-relevant grades. And that touched me because I'm struggling with a 17-year-old who has gone to the University of Nairobi just now, this beginning year. She's 17, so she's not able, she's needy, but she can't get a help loan because she doesn't have an ID. So far she needs 79,000 Kenya shillings for this year. She had to be thrown out of the dorms because she doesn't have the money. Of the 79,000 right now, I've led my small WhatsApp group to raise 41. We have raised for 41, we don't have the balance. So that really about age relevant. Why is she being punished? Because she completed high school before she was 18. So sorry, I'm not fighting you, but I'm passionate about that. So that being said, I'm coming at this, I have only 49 seconds. I'm coming at this as a licensed counselor and as somebody who trains the specialization of school counselors. And I came here to do that because we don't have that in Kenya. We do have counseling. We have counseling psychology. I was running and quality assuring the counseling psychology program at St. Paul's University, Nairobi campus. So I'm very much in touch with the ground and where school counseling is. And I was running the Mary Hill program. The structure is very good in high school. The structure is very good in the structure at the universities. But we do not have school counselors. The counselors work in the schools. They're trained under counseling psychology. And this one I'm talking about, and clinical psychology. So, and I'm also talking from research. And I'm also talking because I'm also an adjunct professor because of technology with St. Paul's University right now. And the people I picked back on and what you brought on is to say that as we reform our education, what our president has called for, I will want to ask the task force, please, let's look at this and have school counselors in the schools, because we also have a crisis. I do not want to run a class right here. I'm finished putting all that in my 0 minutes, that we need that, we don't have that, starting all the way from preschool, from 3-year-olds. And our system is backwards. We have counselors in colleges. We have one at the St. Paul's. We have some in high schools, but they were not trained. I wasn't trained. I didn't even know. Whatever we had when I was in KU was scaffolding of, and we thought we were counselors. But even, and then the other thing, we need to separate school counseling with teaching. And some of the people that we give counseling are the deputy principals of schools. They're disciplinarians. They're not the girls and the guys wearing a white hat. So we need school counselors, and in our elementary schools or primary schools, we we are lacking school counselors, and we need to catch our children and be preventative. By the time they're getting to high school, we are dealing with treatment. So we need school counselors, because whichever curriculum we have or whichever system that we have to support our competency-based education approach, we need to support our academic achievement, and we also need to support our career development for our children. With those very many words, I will stop there.
Thank you, Susan. Brenda, Diana, Judy, Daktari, and then prayer. Okay.
Hi, this is Susan Gondo. I'm here in Florida.
Okay.
I'm from Taita. Been here 19 years. For me, my contribution, I'll be very quick because most of the things have already been said. Very great. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Professor Jerono, and congratulations. Mine is to say, first, for the CBC, when I heard about they cannot reuse books, that was a big, I think that should be revisited, because most people, especially from even when we grew up, we passed on the books to the others. But the issue now that the kids use the book and then nobody else can reuse the book. That's one waste of resources that's not even there, and even they can't even afford it, and then they cannot reuse it. So that's not, I think that should be revisited. The other part is, I think 844 system, whatever the system was before, for us to come here and most of us succeed the way we have, the system was good. It should be improved, other than pick up another system and come and disorganize the whole thing. So I think they should really look into that, because the other thing is that when you see like in Kenya, they disregard people when, like, for example, you get a C and be going and below, maybe you have C, then you are not, they really, you would not even be considered to go to university. So then, for example, me, get a chance and you come here, and for you would not go to even university, but you come here, you have other channels, and you get up, and you can be able to take some prerequisites classes, and you can take some classes. So those are some of the things that in Kenya, the Kenyan education system should look at, because the maturity of a child, sometimes people may not concentrate at the lower level, and then when they get older, they figure it out. So when they finish high school, the kids should not be disregarded just because maybe they did not get that B+ that they really push on. And somebody talked about that very well before. So that was another point that I wanted to pass. The other thing is about so many people that have graduated that don't have jobs. You find out that I think it's not only mentorship, and there's not even support from the people that are ahead of us. You will find that I personally have a son that is actually kind of is done with his engineering at Dedan Kimathi, and when he finished, when we started looking for internship, they just gave 70-something kid, university graduate, told them to go look for internship. They went all looking for internship. They all go looking for, there's not even a support system to help them get that internship. And so my son was also looking for internship, and I was also trying to reach out to look for people to help me get internship. And even some of the prominent people that I knew, when I sent a message, they just, buffed me out like easy, like, oh, the school should help, the university should help, but really the university they can't help everybody. Totally understand. Really, it has to be, we have to look at not only the system of taking the kids to school and telling them they need to do, but we have to have it structured. It's just like here, when I was going for my master's, you would be told where you have the resources, as in, and you start doing it as you're going to school, they're already teaching you how to get that. So you find that in Kenya, there is not those resources. So I think as we work with this, because this is my first time in this meeting, but as we work into this, we should incorporate those universities. They should be attached. They should have relationship with different companies, you know, and in those, when they have those relationships, that's where they'll send those students there to do the internship. Hopefully those, where they do the internship, if they did well, they will be able to get the jobs. Because like me, when I did I went for my nurse practitioner, where I trained, really, those were the first people that offered me the job first. So if the university doesn't have relationships, so they are not set up to help the graduates, right? So they will have a system that will they are set up for success. One more thing I wanted to, I already talked about the mentorship. So a solution for so many graduates or so many of the people that graduate is for us diasporas to come up with ideas on how we can mentor those people, those upcoming. We are there. We know how, when we came here, how this helped us. If there's a way we can go back and help out. I have, and I know many of you do have, do participate at home. Some of the things that can really help is maybe the system can incorporate, as in connecting the student. If we don't have jobs there, then connect them to go out, you know, like export them, then we can come back, just like we are all doing. So I think that's all I wanted to share for tonight. Thank you very much. You're muted, Professor.
Diana. Okay, let's get Brenda, Diana, and Judy. Let's try to make it as brief as we can so that we can all, it's been a long day. We can always come back, okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Jerono, for giving me this chance. I feel so good to be speaking to you and to my fellow diasporans. I think coming here, I'm coming as a representation of Vitu kwa ground, as a youth who has just arrived to the US. I'm 6 months since I arrived to the US. I graduated from Maseno University last year, 2021, with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Economics. And my inputs that I would want to talk about is about parenting. I think I am one of those children who have come from, you see, that village, in a school where there's no electricity, in a school where there are not enough resources, no books, not enough teachers. And I believe that me being here and being able to graduate from a university, it was all about my parents. It was all about my parents telling me that, Brenda, you can do what you can do. It's you to believe in it's you to believe in yourself, and you can surely go far. And you see, now I am believing now. Currently, I'm doing my master's, and I believe that I'm going to go far. Something else I want to talk about is our education. I think the abolishment of the 844 system, that is one of the things that I would say, like, it is a great achievement for our country. Why do I say that? I finished high school in 2015. And if you guys were watching news, you would see that the KCSE papers were all over the news. Like, we had the papers were in the news, physics papers were there, they are being given to students. And I don't understand why teachers, mostly teachers in private school, feel the need to give papers to a student so that they can produce an A for a school. You can go to various schools. Let me talk of a county like Nakuru County, whereby in 2015, most students got A's, B+, and they went to universities. if you look into the statistics of how many students went to university in 2016 and how many students were able to reach graduation, you can see that there are very big disparity between those who joined university and those who reached graduation. I'm trying to be brief. Like the issue of mental health in universities, let me talk about like myself, put myself in this shoe. I am a young mom. I became a teenage mom when I was in first year. I would say that my mom believed that, Brenda, you are a bright student and you can do everything in this world. But no one told me, like, no one taught me sex education. I was never told, when you go there, you're going to learn. I was exposed to, I just passed, I had a very good grade, I went to university, but no one ever sat me down to tell me the real thing of taking care of myself as a young woman. Where you are going to meet people who don't care. Like, how are we becoming parents to our own kids? How are we becoming like our parents to our own sisters there? Because you will find that very, very many young girls are going to university and dropping out of school due to early pregnancy. In our news every day, we are seeing girls, 18 years, 13 years, they are mothers. What are we doing? It's not all about getting good grades. What kind of people are we producing after getting to school? Are we able to incorporate this sex education in our education systems? Because you will find even teachers are impregnating our students. Our kids even safe at the hands of our teachers. I think it's high time parents, teachers, the government, and everybody to come up. You bring your input in the discipline of our kids. Let them know it's not all about having the best grades. It's not all about getting A's. What kind of a person are you going to become after you finish your school? Thank you so much.
Let us finish. The person who's recording our program really has to go, and it's been so late. Ben, just give us a few minutes. We're almost done. I don't want to leave anybody. Great point, Brenda. Let's see, Diana. The rest of us, let's see if we can put our comments on the chat so we can really finish, because the person who is recording has to go to bed and I don't want to keep. Yeah, so Diana.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana. I'm a grad student here at Georgia State in Atlanta. I have taught in Kenya for a couple of years, and then I came here and I teach English to freshman students. And I think that the comments that have been made about how the curriculum is kind of preparing students who, finish and then they're like, so what? I have these qualifications, I don't have a job, and now I'm disillusioned. I would like to suggest that, we go back to the drawing board, right? What happens in that language classroom? What happens in that content classroom? I think we can start from the basics of like trying to train our students, not just on content literacies, but on functional literacies such as critical thinking. Because part of the reason is that, students are coming out of college, out of high school, out of elementary school, and they can't have that, autonomy in how they think about the world around them, how to make decisions, how to, develop an agency in the problems that they see in society. So if we begin with that language classroom, where we design like what we teach our students to be, not just reading and writing, but we're also preparing them to like use the skills they acquire in reading and writing to communicate to the world around them. And then through that communication, they can extend to like finding problems in society and solving them. We're teaching them to take, ownership and like pride in creating and becoming innovative. So by fostering functional literacies through language instruction, like curriculum approaches to literacy learning, we can have students who can transfer these skills from the language classroom to content classroom, and then to like the real world. Right? So that will be curriculum related. And in that sense, it's not going to just be a student problem, a student issue. It's going to have to do with teachers as well, because we need to have teachers who, for example, if you're a science teacher, you're not preparing students to just learn about science, but you're also preparing them to reason like scientists, right? To apply the knowledge that they learn in class to be able to solve real world issues. So I think it really starts from that very lower level of the classroom and what students are learning and how that helps them develop their literacy. The second thing I wanted to comment on is related to policy and how that's implemented. When we look at CBC, some of the criticism that it's received is that it's preparing our students, for the future, but it's kind of decontextualized in a sense, right? We're having students going to school and be trained on like swimming, for example, in the sand. I had someone give that example. And that is something that they might not need in the immediate time. So maybe if we teach students to make use of the resources that are available to them, to kind of learn about what could be useful, skills that they could use in the immediate, then they could transfer that to try to make sense of their reality when they finish school, for example, and they need those skills to apply to their life. So I think the problem with CBC is an appropriation of policy issue, that we see something working somewhere and then we're like, okay, let's try it. But we don't think about, let's do a needs analysis and, explore the resources available so that it's not just this whole blanket application of policy without necessarily taking into consideration resources, teacher preparation, student preparation, and how all those ideas speak to each other. Thank you.
Okay, we're really gonna cut down. I'm just gonna give Judy, and then the rest of the who are left, we can come back on the 25th, and then we can also share our comments because it's getting so late. And so Judy, Arakisha, and then Pastor Ocheng utumalizie na maombi. Dan, I think you had contributed, so tuache tumalizie hapo. We'll come back on the 25th. I think we need to fit, the audio has to malize it because we don't want to lose that connection. So akilala we'll leave it halfway. Yes, Judy, quick, and then Pastor. We'll not talk again.
Okay. Good evening, good morning, good. I'm from Georgia, Savannah. I don't want to talk much because of time, and I'm sorry for coming in late, but because of issues about the weather and all that, I was able to fix it back, my internet, and now I'm back. So without wasting my time, I don't know much what I've been said or not, what I left out, but what I want to say is a little about the basic education. So first of all, I feel like there's a gap in every connection, like there's a gap in every stage, beginning from the lower class, the ECD, the lower, all that structure, there's a gap. And this gap is created by disconnection between parents, teachers, and the entire system of the school. Because you find that a parent send this little innocent kid to school, probably 3 years or 4 years. And then coming back, nowadays, no parent just checks what they done at school. And then you get there, the teacher is tired. And most teachers, nowadays they don't teach because they teach. They go to teaching because they failed in other subjects. So you get that teacher. I'm sorry, I was a teacher in back Kenya. And I know when a teacher teaches because he's a teacher, and who teaches because she or he was forced to teach, because there was no other course to do but to do teaching. So there's this coming kid who is innocent. He's relying on you. You find that a parent is trusting the teacher, and this pupil or this young child trust more on teacher than the parent. So when the CBC is introduced, the CBC, according to what I've seen, is more of material stuff more than the knowledge. And now, when you see the CBC and the previous 7 subjects with the home science, music, art, and craft, the previous subjects was more good than the current one, because this one is just like brushing, and it does, they don't get it. So like the knowledge is like, let me use it, a microwave knowledge, like you put in by few seconds, it's hot, and it doesn't stay that long. I don't know if that makes sense. Microwave knowledge, like it's not like the one we got with the 844 or the 7 subjects that we used to do early days. So I suggest that the CBC would even if they want to change the name or they don't want to change the name, let them make the CBC look like the previous home science and the music craft, all that. Let the children be more of the knowledge than the, more of the practical stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. And another thing about that is like,
Jaribu kukata kwa sababu tumeketi hapa since 6 o'clock.
Yes. So I wanted to speak about the buildings. We expect children to perform, but you can imagine being in a class of a wooden class, like children can see through outside. There's cold, there's rain, and even most cases there are places where there's hot climate. And you expect the same child to participate well, like child in an urban schools. So government really need to put that in place, like, oh, if this child education is important, this child in the Turkana or in Northeastern or in whatever the school is should look the same as the other child in urban classes, urban cities. So structures of classes, the quality standard for buildings should be put into consideration, so that they say every school should have these and should not be like this for good structure or the building, or I know we understand what I mean because of time. So I don't want to speak. I know I had a lot to speak about, but I don't know what I've been said and what I've not been said. But I would say that TCBC government needs to take it so very seriously. And about standard 7, I don't know what they call nowadays. So let them remain where they are, because they are taking them to spoiled places, not spoiled in quotes, not spoiled, but they are still kids. They still need this parent guidance or no. And understand standard 7 from the word, somebody just came in from lower class, now is starting to mature, and then now you're going joining the other kids, they are a bit high in their own levels. So I don't want to speak much. And next time, I hope I'll come in very early, and then I'll put all my inputs together. Now I'm like saying which one do I say, which one do I not say. But thank you so much all for your contribution. I've been following the charts. I've been following what's going on here. Most of the things that I was supposed to say have been said. One language, I don't want to forget about language.
It was covered.
Language is very important. Like that one, I insist that should not be removed, because right now I remember a book we used to read in standard 1 that was in my own matter. I remember all the stories, but anything that was for English, even one I don't remember. That means like your own language makes you feel like you own that thing, and when you own it, it makes you understand things more in life. You don't teach a child to be tribal. You teach a child to understand this thing in his own language, so that you translate that thing into the entire world. You can manipulate anything when you understand it better. So language is a very important thing. So thank you so much. If I leave something, I'll say next time. Thank you.
Yeah, let me tell you, let's give a round of applause to Judy. Judy is one person who has done all her homework. She actually gets an A. If you look at the chat, if you're in group 1, Judy has answered all the questions on Google Doc, on the chat. So Judy, thank you so much for your contributions. I know she has a 2-month-old baby, but she's staying up late to do that. So we really appreciate your commitment. Pastor, please pray for us, and then we'll continue with the chat. We'll continue with the Google Doc, and then we'll meet again on the 25th. Karibu, Pastor.
All right. Thank you very much. The Lord be with you. Our Father and our God, we are very grateful to you. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, even for the task force that was put together for the purposes of looking at our education system. Lord, I want to thank you for these great minds that were able to meet here today and tonight, just to be able to spare their time because they are concerned. Lord God, even Nehemiah was concerned when Jerusalem was in ruins, and he asked, how can I be happy when my Jerusalem is in ruins? Lord God, you are able to give him an opportunity to go rebuild. And therefore, these men and women, with their ability, they are concerned about our systems in Kenya. And therefore, that is why they're giving their time that they can be able to rebuild it. Therefore, I want to thank you for their contribution, and I pray that you bless each one of them in every area of contribution that they're making in their villages and in the areas where they're coming from. Lord God, I want to thank you for the task force that is here to be able to look at through this system. I pray that, Lord God, you may be able to grant them strength for the long hours that they are sitting, able to listen to the various contributions, and more so that we are making a better future for our children and our children's children, oh God. We thank you and we bless your name even as we go to sleep tonight. Lord, I pray that you may be able to watch over us. Lord, I pray for those who are sick in our midst. May your hand of healing be upon them, Lord Jesus Christ. Those who are struggling with various issues in their lives, Lord God, I pray for your intervention. Remember our students and our children back in Kenya. And I pray, Lord God, that you will be able to guide them even through the systems of education that we already have there. Father, we thank you and we bless your name even as we part ways. May your grace be upon each one of us as you give us a safe and a good night's sleep. In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ben Kebwata, where are you? Let's all give him a round of applause. He's the one who's been recording this and airing it live on YouTube, on Facebook. So thank you, Ben. Where are you? Can you wave? I'm on Malala. Ben Kebwata. Hey, Amelala. Kebwata. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a good one. I have to get ready. I have a very early morning meeting. So thank you so much, Mubarikiwe. Let's continue in the chat and the group and stay in touch.
All right.
Yes. Good night, Prof. Have a good one.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.